quite keen to catch up.
Now, just having a look at you guys in the chat. Now, in Okayama, obviously, the chat was there was so much live chat going on YouTube that we could even read most of it because it was flicking through so quickly. But we are going to try and keep up with you in this longer 500-kilometer race. Are you ready?
Yeah, here we go. And the crowd seem very excited. The Super GT always brings out such a mega crowd for it. They're so fanatic for every single driver on the grid, to be honest. It's something you get out there as a driver that, you get your certain fans that, will be fanatic for you, but generally they're all so just overwhelmed to be there and supporting everyone on the grid, which is great.
Well, look at this. The police are already... I don't think we're going to see Mr. Orange Jacket before the start of the race. I'm quite disappointed. No, here we go. Here he is. Look at that. It's Mr. Orange Jacket. For those of you who haven't watched Super GT before... Oh, he's quite shouty, this Mr. Orange Jacket. He's feeling in shouty mood, isn't he? And looking a bit old today. He's lost a bit of his hair colour, so he hasn't obviously put the dark hair coloured in, but he seems very... sternly happy to be here at Fuji Speedway. And there's his fan club, the Mr. Orange Jacket fan club with their big flags. They come out every round. Autobacks, of course, the series sponsor of Super GT. It's like a giant car tuning store and accessories stuff. It's like a mega Halfords.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. It's always around. It's always plastered around the weekends at Super GT. But yeah, that dude he's got a pretty powerful job.
He does. I mean, and the fact he gets to every single race and makes his presentation before and after each race, he's greatly dedicated. And it's good to see Mr. Orange Jacket ready for action.
I'm amazed we can't actually see Mount Fuji. I don't know if maybe we can from another camera shot.
You can't from this angle see
the
mountain, but when we pan back, it looked like it's clouded over the mountain.
It did before, yeah.
Now, that's an interesting point because the weather forecast and, the weather there at the track is, bright and sunny. So which is unusual for Super GT, frankly. Yeah. Doesn't look like we're going to get any rain, but as the clouds have come in over the mountain, we've all seen what the weather at Fuji Speedway can do, and it can change very, very quickly. But I don't think we're going to get any rain there. Looking back towards Grinpa, the Sylvanian Families theme park that's just over the crest of the hill, but at the end of the straight there. It's slightly confusing taking a wrong turn when you arrive at Fuji Speedway and get surrounded by giant teddy bears. Yeah, no, it's quite an interesting drive on the way up through Gotemba. It's such a small town on the way coming into this circuit. It always gets clogged up with traffic. It's quite unique in that sense. It's got so much, as you come into the track, it's got so much history, and the town is so old and just looks so delicate. And you come into this amazing facility that's obviously had quite a big revamp since Formula One. It's out of all the tracks in Japan, as we were discussing before we came on, it's probably one of the most high quality tracks they have in Japan, and they keep everything up to date. Now, this is Fuji Speedway. It was originally built to host NASCAR, the NASCAR Cup Series. But they only built about half of the track. There's the big turn one banking, which they used to use in sports car racing until they had some fairly nasty accidents and fatalities up there. It was decided after some encouragement of Sterling Moss of all people, they shouldn't bother building the full NASCAR oval. They should use the bit they've got and then build a road course to link it all back together. So that is how you ended up with the Fuji Speedway, which is the very high-speed, swoopy version. If you look around online, you can find some lovely onboards from back in the 60s, when these big monsters like the Toyota 7 and the Monster Bird prototype that we actually got to play with a few months ago when we were here for NISMO Festival. You can see those clips elsewhere on the channel, so hit subscribe, and there's so much great content that we got from that. Believe me, so much.
Yeah, I can imagine. That is such a crazy fact. I never knew it being built for the NASCAR Sprint. Yeah, that's very interesting.
And then what happens the circuit carried on in much that configuration for a long time, and then deciding to host Formula One, Herman Tilke was brought in, and he didn't ruin it. Fuji Speedway is still quite a great track, I think.
No, I think it's mega. I think it provides good racing. It's got obviously the long straight, which if you are struggling to keep up through the twisty bits, gives you a bit of a hand with a toe if you're close enough. And yeah, to be honest, I think we've always had quite a good race, quite a thrilling race at Fuji.
Now, about this point at the Okayama race, when we had this, not quite as a large police ride-out. You've got Mr. Orange Jacket's personal ride-out crew at the front there of the police by the look of it. And then that collection of police cars of various types and design. No expert on Japanese police cars, right in on the chat if you can identify those 5 cars. I think there's 2 different types in there. All the Honda NSXs were beginning to break down at this point. They claim now it was a wiring fault, but I'm not convinced. I think there was something more problematic in the Honda engine there at Okayama, and we saw the same in Sochi with Fernando Alonso.
Yeah, I mean, you can understand why they didn't want to give away their secrets of, wouldn't want to tell the world why, or exactly why, or what it is they're struggling with, but for the Super GT round, very, very odd. Apparently it's a system they've been running since 2014 or 15, so that could just be a conspiracy, just a one-off unfortunate occurrence. But yeah, they're definitely all around struggling at the minute, Honda. It's not great to see.
Now, I would be saying that Nissan itself is struggling for pace here at Fuji Speedway, apart from one being on 2nd position, that Michelin-shod red car, the Nismo car with Ronnie Quintarelli at the wheel.
Yeah, mega job by Quintarelli.
So much faster than any other Nissan, so it's going to be interesting to see. Now, Super GT is a tyre war formula, so the tyres on that car could be different to even the tyres used on the S-Road Mola car, which is also Michelin-shod. They could have a new special sort of mega rubber for Fuji Speedway to try and improve the pace of the Nissans. It's interesting to see, because Nismo always gets on the red car, always gets the new bits first.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's strange. Yeah, I don't know. Even the gaps between the whole field were pretty large. You get in Super Formula and Super GT generally, all these drivers race each other all year round in Super G and Super Formula, so you get this, all the drivers very much know each other, and they also trust each other on track, and they know all their habits. So and in qualifying, generally you just get this super, super tight grid, but strange to see yesterday, even the fight for pole was 3/10, which in the grand scheme of things isn't that big, but for racing at this high level, it is quite a chunk, so it was interesting to see.
Well, Storytel Productions really thinks Chevrolet is going to win this one, which is an interesting prediction. What are your predictions for the race, which may be slightly more realistic?
I mean, for the 300, it's a safe bet to go with the Mercedes, but with 40 kilos ballast, I mean, that's huge. That's a lot of weight, but drivability of the Mercedes on a track like this through Sector 3, Sector 2, it's definitely going to pay in their favours. I'm thinking for 300, who we got starting in the top 5? What manufacturers have we got?
300
that Porsche could be interesting.
That Porsche would be interesting, yeah. But I think, personally, that Subaru sitting back there, the BRZ, is going to be... It's easier on but it's on those Dunlop tyres, but it's an easier... a balance, that Subaru. So don't rule out that Subaru down starting in 6th position, first of the non-GT3 cars in the field.
Yeah, the Subaru looks good, or this one here.
That's the Lexus, the Project Mu JMS LM Corsa RCF. That's a brand new for this year car.
I'm going to go with the Lexus for 300.
That'd be a turn up for its first race win. But of course, at Fuji Speedway, it's home track.
Ambitious, I like it. Let's do it. I'm going to go with that. And for 500, well, it'd be nice to see the Ito and Roster car get a good result. They didn't have the strongest of years last year, so it'd be nice to see them up there. And obviously, I don't know. It would be nice to see that Nissan up there, because speaking to some of the drivers there, Okayama was a little bit of a struggle, and the Toyotas just dominated so much. So it'd be nice to see something other than a Toyota win, obviously.
Well, there is the red car of Nismo, the car. Now, we know that car is losing out 5 kph on the straight to all of those Lexi all around it. However, that won't matter on the first lap, which is coming up. We're going to get a proper start. Thanks to Honda, this time they've actually allowed us to have a proper start at Toyota's home track. There is one of those previously stricken NSXs. They're showing good pace here at Fuji Speedway.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look out, these cars are so unique. They're so cool.
Built to the same technical regulations as DTM, but these GT500 cars have got better engines, better tyres, a whole lot more power and a whole lot more grip, and we're about to see it as that Honda NSX pace car is going to pull off to the right. We are going to go racing. There goes the Honda.
I always like to see the grid be a bit more bunched up. They're always just a bit too
messy, aren't they?
Yeah, they're always too far apart. It'd be nice to see them like Blancpain all bunched up.
They are bunching up now. and we will see it's such a long straight. It's a bit deceptive. We'll see the lights go out and the race is about to start. You can see GT300, yellow headlights in the background, but all eyes on the white headlight GT500 car, still warming their tyres, surprisingly, as the lights turn to... or don't turn to... He's really holding him on, isn't he?
Well, usually the stewards don't like them weaving all the way up to the line, so when they
and
start...
there's the green. And as the sign says, it's the start. Great start for Zensarumo, but Nismo is
right
already in the tow, trying to block off the Wacos car. He's not going to get past there, but he's held second quite nicely.
Yeah.
And the rest of the field are all bunched up. Let's see how that shakes out.
I think that Tom's car's made up a position as well in P4 from P5.
That's Jan Mardenborough, I think, on the move, well, on the move backwards, actually, in the Form Engineering car. Now, you keep an eye on those 500 cars, Struan. I'll watch these yellow headlighted 300s. I'm looking to see some great boosting, but I think there's action at the front of the field. With the Nismo GT500 car right on the tail of Zensarumo, but as they get off the line in GT300, Hatsune Miku into the first corner first, but that Porsche is under pressure from both the Lexus and the other Mercedes. With the smaller capacity GT300 cars, or the smaller performance GT300 cars, in a huge gaggle as the Golf Porsche tries to get a run round on the Hatsune Miku, but doesn't make that stick. But really, the action is all going on at the front of the field here.
Yeah, he's right on him. He's been right on him the whole lap. He's just been hitting his apexes. They've actually pulled up a gap on P3, but I think P3, actually, I made a mistake. He didn't start P5. The Tom's car started P4, and he's now it's P3.
Well, that's got. I mean, the Toyota Cup there's going quite nicely with all of those Toyotas. But now this is going to be key for the Nismo car there in second position. He's just got to sit in the toe of that Lexus, because the Lexus has that 5 kph advantage. Now the Golf Porsche is passed by Bjorn Verdheim in the Mercedes there in Gainer Tanak's colours. All German at the front, followed by the Lexus, and then behind the Subaru is holding position in 5th position, having made one up.
Interesting to see that 5k deficit didn't make too much of a difference to the Toyota on that lap for the Nissan.
There's a bit more of a gap, so it looks like the Nissan is a little bit better in the corners, and the Toyota is making its time on the straights. And the S-Road Mola car now mixing up with the Honda Gaggle, but still a lack of performance from the GT-Rs back down the field. The Golf Porsche is being eaten alive now by that Lexus RCF, and the Subaru is being troubled by the Manipa Lamborghini. This is all going to be a bit of a slipstream up down the straights here. And
those two BMWs aren't doing too bad either, to be fair. They're in the top 8.
That's right, actually, yeah. It's the BMWs, actually, the Teddy Bear BMW and the Arta Autobacks BMW that are monstering the Subaru right there, and really monstering it is the Teddy Bear car, the Steiff car. If you don't know what Steiff is, you look it up and you'll discover why we call that car the Teddy Bear BMW. Not at all works, but absolutely works endorsed with that works livery on it. It's pretty clear. Yamauchi in the Subaru and Seiya Ara starting the BMW, and someone going off in the background there. I just saw that telltale puff of gravel dust and didn't see who it was.
It usually is a little bit through 130i as you come to the apex on the exit of the corner. Some cars do tend to just go over that white line and bring up a bit of dirt.
So that's the Steiff BMW, the Teddy Bear BMW, making a very neat move actually on the Subaru, but the Subaru isn't giving up that place quite so easily. Now, no tyre warmers here in Super GT, so it could be as the tyres come into their operational windows, you'll see the field reshuffle, the pack will get shuffled, and then it'll reshuffle itself a little bit later on. And that BRZ Subaru is completely different, bizarrely, unlike the road car, to the GT86 as you'll see later in the race. And speaking of GT86 cars, the VVAC 86, which I was going to tip to being really competitive in this race, has fallen down the field a little bit as Hatsune Miku has opened a gap out to all of her followers. And she has quite a lot of followers all around the world. Apparently, Struan Moore sounds like Jensen Button.
Yeah, I think it's the British accent coming through there.
British? English, man. English.
Yeah, English. It's interesting to see these two Mercedes. Is it? Yeah, it's the two Mercedes out in front now, which was half a prediction from me. But the drivability of these Mercedes, I mean, especially in Europe, it's just dominating. You know, they have to rein the back in with the BOP. It just seemed like a car that's working really well through the tight stuff.
Now, when you say BOP, what you mean is balance of performance. Now, this is one of the systems used in all series that has GT3 racing, and actually most GT racing, as we get a pass of the Honda. Honda's now getting into the Wed Sport. 3 wide down the start-finish line as the Raybrig NSX gets up the inside of the Wed Sport Lexus, and into the bargain gets past the Arta Autobacks NSX, and that's Chio in Yesro Mola GT-R wanting to get a bit of that Honda action for himself as well.
Is he going to have a little look into the 130? I bet he's going to.
He's going to have a nibble on that, isn't he?
Sometimes you can get a little bit of a move on the inside here. Is he going to think about it? No, he's too close to the other car in front.
I will go back to that point about balance of performance, because while the Forum Engineering Kondo GT-R now is getting into that gaggle of cars, and Jan Mardenborough's not far off the back. But the point about balance of performance is it's a way to make all GT3 cars, such as the Porsche and the Lexus, as you can see here, going down the start-finish straight for one of the top positions, 3rd position in GT300. It's a way to make all the cars as equal as possible. Now, that performance involves weight, turbocharger performance, it involves air restrictors, and a great battle there through the first sector of Fuji Speedway between this Lexus and this Porsche, and that's what you get with balance of performance. The process of balance performance is done by SRO in Super GT, who also do it in the Blancpain Endurance Series. So we'll come back to that a little bit more, but the racing is getting a little bit spicy, and we will talk a little bit about the different types of car a little bit later when things have calmed down just a little bit.
Yeah, I think actually just looking at this 300 battle, that Porsche did have a strong quali, but it just looks like it's struggling early at this stage of the race. It just doesn't look like it's working that well compared to the other cars around it.
And a lot of what you're going to see here with the different types of GT3 car, particularly is what we're seeing in the GT300 class, is how they evolve on those tyres. I mean, how they will start making the tyres work through this long 500-kilometre race. 2 stops for sure for pretty much every team. Will anyone go for a 3-stop strategy? I don't think so. I don't think you can make that work particularly well, but it's not impossible. In GT300, there's 3 different types of car. You've got the FIA GT3 specification cars. They are dominating this race at the moment. Everybody up front is an FIA GT3 specification car. The first of the non-GT3 cars in this field is the Subaru BRZ. Now, that's built to the JAF GT300 rulebook. Now, that means they can use they have to use quite a lot of the production car bits, like the roof line and the A-pillar and a few other bits and bobs, but then the rest of the car can be quite a lot cheaper. In front bulkhead you've got to use. That car, there it is, the BRZ, has pretty much the 2-litre WRC engine in the front of it. The flat 4 box is still 2-litre turbocharged, but these cars, the GT500s, are purebred racers, and there you see the effect of that 5 kph loss, or the 5 kph deficit the Nissan has to the Toyota down the start-finish straight, and the NISMO car is being monstered there by James Rossiter. Yeah,
James Rossiter's been having a very strong drive early on. That Nissan just can't keep up on the straights, unfortunately, right now, but yeah, it looks like Rossiter could be on his way to the lead.
He's disappeared off. We're not sure he's going to quite make it to the lead. That's a long way away now. And Nissan just doesn't seem to be able to live with these Lexi at Fuji Speedway. Now look at those lap times there. Actually, there's a lot of a little bit of evolution there, isn't there? I mean, there's a few tenths a second. I mean, the first 2 laps don't really count for Ronnie Quintarelli. He did his best lap on lap 4, but he now seems to be losing a bit of time. Did he get into the sweet spot? Well, what they're getting into now, which could spice things up a little bit, is the back of the GT300 field. Just lap 6, and they're already into the laps traffic. There you go. Yeah,
this is the beauty of Super GT. You've just got to manage all your traffic, and the traffic is huge. The 300 grid is always massive, and for the 500 cars, the speed deficit is pretty significant, to be honest. You know, they do catch up with them very quickly, and also the Super GT 500 cars have carbon brakes, and just the quality just goes up and up and up. And yeah, I mean, you can see here now they're just going to power right past and make them look slow.
Well, there you go, Heikki Kovalainen using that slower Toyota Mark Ek mother chassis car, the 3rd type of GT300 car. We'll come back to those a little bit later to get the run on Ronnie Quintarelli, and he made it look easy there, didn't he? Just drove straight by him. As DW might say in a NASCAR race, it was a blue bayou. And they're getting up onto Mintzilla, first appearance of, there it is, the Dijon GT-R, one of the most popular cars, no longer pink. Who paints a GT-R minty coloured? Lovely, fresh, minty.
Vibrant.
Yeah. And there is one of my favourite cars we just saw a glimpse of in the GT300 field, the Lotus Evora Mother chassis car. Now that uses the same monocoque chassis from Dome that the Toyota Mark X uses and the Toyota GT86. There's one of the a pair of the 86s actually. But the difference with that is it mounts its 4.5 litre VK45DE engine at the rear. It's a mid-engine car by regulation, whereas all the 86s in the Mark X are front-engine cars, but they all share the same chassis, and it just is a really nice rule set. And that means that the Lotus is always a little bit of a stealth performer, taking quite a long time to bringing in its pace, but suddenly it's up there in second or third position because it goes so long without a pit stop.
Yeah, for sure, doing a great job. And this is a really interesting point of the race because it's the first time round that we're catching these back markers. It's not all about going for every single move you can on these slower cars. It's about managing the right time to do it and trying to set it up because, you know, soon enough you can see even the Tom's Lexus car in P2 is only 1.2 seconds now away from the lead. And if you can manage that traffic better than the P1 car and just seem to get the exits and catch the traffic at the right time, then, you know, the gap just decreases all the time to the lead.
Now, something we haven't really seen as we see a Honda on Honda, very sort of tight Honda on Honda scrap there actually. Something we haven't really seen on camera, but it has happened, is that the Nissans at the back of the field are really beginning to mix it up with those Honda NSXs. So you can see there, Jan Mardenborough in the blue car, the Calsonic car, has got past the Cahin car, the Epson car, well that's starting at the back anyway, and the Modulo car. So it's a little bit interesting that we've missed this good battle, but Jan Mardenborough up to 11th position, there he is, and he's working his way up through the field as they do start to get mixed in with this GT300 traffic. There you can see the Arta NSX a little bit further down the road, and that will be his next target. And one of the things about these GT500 cars, there's been questions already in about what these GT500 cars actually are. Well, as I was saying, it's the DTM chassis but built in Japan. But they've got 2-litre turbocharged inline 4-cylinder engines, which reduce slightly north of 650 brake horsepower compared to DTM's 505 horsepower, as Oshima now is coming to spoil Quintarelli's day, as is the Red Bull Lexus not far away, and even the Hondas are coming in to get the Nismo car. So it seems like those Michelins are not working in these race conditions right now, but these cars have got great performance, 303 kph down the start-finish line, and their lap times around Fuji Speedway in the previous higher downforce iteration of these cars was it was about the same pace as an Audi R18.
Oh, really?
In 2014. Now the cars have lost a lot of downforce to 2017, and so they're slightly slower, but they'll probably still be able to hold a candle to a non-hybrid LMP1, and certainly a lot quicker than the LMP2s that you're so used to around this track.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think the LMP2 car, I mean, the times wouldn't be not too far from a GT500 car, but the sheer aerodynamics of this 500 car is pretty incredible, really. It's just a really, even a fast version of a DTM car, which is pretty amazing.
Now, something that isn't as much of a fast version of DTM as others. Look at the trouble that Nismo, the red car, is in. The number 23.
Yeah.
The Nissan is...
Two Lexuses are really... Cassidy's going up the inside there. Great move. Oh, has he done it? Yeah.
There was a little bit of contact there. Lexus on Lexus rubbing.
Yeah, he's got to push him out just a little bit. Let him know that he's coming through.
That's the Keeper Tom's LC500. There it is. I call it the Red Bull car because it's got such prominent Red Bull branding. Good to see that Austrian and fizzy drink manufacturer in Super GT. Now, a bit of a mistake there, I think, by Quintarelli. Was he trying to get a toe off the GT3 car?
Well, he was just
Is that
forced.
What he's doing?
Yeah, he was just forced to overtake. He was going to lose too much time by slowing off the last corner.
Yeah, but look at the way he's bobbing in and out of this line of GT300s.
Yeah, we're trying to reduce drag at any cost.
Yeah, it's not working. He knows he's got this 5 kph and it'll be like this all day long, but he's got this 5 kph deficit to the Toyotas, and it's absolutely crippling these Nissans down the straight, which is a real shame. There was an article in Autosport magazine in Japan earlier this week evaluating the different performances of the GT500 cars, and it seems, and I think we are seeing it here, that the GT-R is one of the best, if not the best cars in the field in terms of cornering performance. But on the straight, it does seem to have a bit of a power deficit. Now, these are not frozen engines. There is engine updates and power unit updates that do come onto these cars through the season. They've reduced the number of update packages you can bring per year, but I think the engineers at NISMO will be looking to bring a bit more power to the car later in the season, perhaps around Suzuka time. I haven't heard when the updates are going to come for Nissan. Lexus started the season with a brand new specification of engine, as did Honda, and both of them have seen the performance step up as well. There is one of those newly hopped up NSXs, and they do seem to be working quite well here at Fuji, which is good to see because they've been fairly uncompetitive for a long time. Now, looking at the traffic, you can see the effect there on Ronnie Quintarelli. He's already done 1 minute 30 earlier in this race, but his slowest lap there was a 1:34. That's how much time he's losing in that traffic.
I think that roster car's also actually Kovalainen's quick, isn't he? He's catching the top two. But yeah, Quintarelli got a bit of a break through the traffic there from Cassidy. Just managed to manage it a little bit better, but he's had to go up the inside. He's been forced to, otherwise he loses too much time. And Cassidy should just breeze past this Merc.
Yeah, Hatsune Miku, that's the lead of GT300, so they get a bit of clear air for now. And let's see what effect that will have on the lap times. A 1 minute 32 last time past the stripe for the number 23, the red car, the Motul Ortec Nissan GT-R. Ronnie Quintarelli at the wheel of that, being chased by the keeper Tom's Lexus LC500. Bodywork packages on these GT500 cars are locked in for the season, but the engines, as I say, are not, and it is engine and power deficit that seems to be hitting the GT-Rs a little bit at the moment. I love the sound of these GT500s.
I was just gonna say, there's a turnover.
Let's have a crank it up and let's have a listen to that. The sound of the 2-litre 4-cylinder engines. I don't think you'd ever expect someone to say that's a good sounding engine. And there is Jan Mardenborough making a great move to try and go around the outside of the orange Honda NSX, the Autobacks liveried car. And there is the Wed Sports LC500 not far ahead, but Chio-san is all over the back of Mardenborough, and there is some form between Chio and Mardenborough, isn't there? Back to the F3 days.
Yeah, definitely. I think they've both got single-seater heritage to their names, especially Jan did a lot of high-level stuff in Europe. Outside of his GT-R experience, I believe he started off in British F3. He did some GP3 as well, and he had a win in his GP3. I think it was his maiden campaign, or definitely if he did a second year, it was the second year. And Chio's a bit of a legend in the. He's becoming a little bit famous, I think, out of Japan in the racing. He was very quick in single seaters, and he's just gone up and up and up in the Nissan ladder, and now he finds himself in one of the hot seats in Super GT 500, along with Jan Mardenborough making, incredible story, as we know, winning the GT Academy, and now look, he's racing in the highest level in Japan in a factory seat in a Nissan 500 car, which is a dream, really. To be in 500 is in the racing industry it's a big gig.
Oh, and the D-Station Porsche taking an alternative route there through Sector 3, that is. But look at this train that has formed along the start-finish straight. There is going to be an overtaking manoeuvre, or an attempt at one for sure, into Turn 1. And it's Jan Mardenborough who thought about it, who didn't quite make it stick that time by. Now, these NSXs, question came in on the chat room. We like to see your comments, so keep chatting. Sorry if we don't shout your name out. We'll try and get it through the race, but the chat is going quite quickly, which is good to see. So keep chatting to each other. We're going to tune in. But the NSXs in this race are not hybrid cars. There are no hybrids allowed in GT500 anymore. But when the NSX first came into Super GT, the previous generation NSX, the Concept GT, that was a hybrid. in 2014 and 2015, but they dropped it in 2016, and in 2017 it's a different model of NSX. It's the production model, and that is no longer a hybrid. But there are two hybrids in this race, and that is the pair of Toyota Priuses, and we'll talk about those a little bit later. But Chio-san there making Jan Mardenborough go a little bit defensive.
Yeah, it's a tricky one at this track because all the overtaking opportunities are quite tight, and they lead into another corner. Apart from the first corner, when it all bunches up, it's quite difficult to decide, is it going to be the right move, or if I outbrake myself, I'm going to go into the car in front of me. So it's a difficult one to manage, and this kind of gaggle of cars you see right now with Chio, there's a bit of a gap to the red car in front, so he could have a pop at going for a move on Jan, but yeah, it's no, there's a decent gap there. He's definitely going to have a crack.
Chio's having a definite think about Jan right now, I think. But is there going to be a yellow flag down there by the pit out? I think there probably is, because there is a stricken Thai Arto GT86, whose drivers I never pronounced the name of. There it is. Just seemed to have conked out by the side of the road. Now, was the yellow flag out when Chio went round the outside of Jan Mardenborough at that point?
Well, we can't see it from our angle, but Chio would be wise just to stay there next to him, but not in front of him. And once he cleared that yellow flag, he could make a bit of a lunge around the outside. I think from his experience, he's probably done the right thing, but yeah, he hasn't slowed down too much for that yellow.
Jan's getting a little bit... Well, that's clearly got to Jan Mardenborough there, because Chio got past him. I think that was under a yellow, but we didn't see the yellow flags waving, but we know the car had stopped because we saw it was stopping, and the first response operation vehicle was coming out of the pit lane as Chio made that pass. But Jan clearly got a little bit irate about that, because he was nice and sideways just a few laps after. So either he's taking the tyres are going away on the rear of that. These GT500 cars, of course, are all rear-wheel drive. 14 laps in, it's a bit early for the tyres to be going off. Yeah,
it also depends. I mean, 130R, that big long right-hander, really does depend on the wind direction. If the wind picks up and you're still trying to make that corner flat or just about flat, if you don't quite get back to that apex on the right, you do tend to get a bit of a snap over still in the exits. But yeah, possibly Jan will dispute that yellow flag.
Right. Well, I've been sent an edict from NISMO HQ. If you like all of this, you have to hit subscribe and you have to hit like. And if you're watching this on Twitter or on Facebook, the main stream is across on YouTube, where there's a really good chat going on. So jump across onto YouTube. Now let's have a look at a replay. What are we seeing here? Oh, and it looks like the D-Station Porsche got turned around there by the Autobacks BMW.
Yeah, he might have got turned around. He might have gone for a move on the inside and just run out of grip.
Is that a moral driving hazard? One driver banned from this race for a moral driving hazard.
Yeah, I think that's a lost in translation moment. We probably think that's for bad behaviour on the track, but moral driving standards, who knows?
Or just poor morals. Now the D-Station Porsche working its way back through the field, and it got past that up garage GT86 there. Well, without too much difficulty. It's interesting to see that a few of these mother chassis cars, their headlights aren't working. Now, I don't think they're going to get penalised, but they may be made to fix that in the first pit stop. And quite a few of the cars having electrical gremlins already. Just 15 laps to go of 110 laps around Fuji Speedway. Track is located a little way south of Tokyo. Takes about 2 hours from Shinjuku to get there on the romance car train to Gotemba Station. Short drive up into the mountains. It's called Fuji Speedway for good reason. It is on the foothills, or just on the lower slopes of Mount Fuji itself, and you'll see a great view of that famous volcano in the final sector. And actually, when you're driving around Fuji Speedway in that final sector, those final few corners, you do get a fantastic view of the mountain. Do you ever find yourself looking at it?
Not sure. maybe on the in-lap. Yeah, definitely when you're outside the car, it's nice to have a cheeky look at the mountain. But when you're inside the car, yeah, you're genuinely a bit focused. But yeah, that last sector, you'll start to see lap 16. You'll start to see some rotation on these cars. They'll just start to struggle with getting the exits, which is so important around this track.
Yuichi Wakisaka looking strong there. Maybe it's Wacos car. Also looking quite strong there in 6th position. They stopped bullying the NISMO car, hasn't it? The NISMO car seems to have found a bit of space. Now, they're all running 131s. Quintarelli seems to have picked up some pace a little bit.
Yeah, I think 131's the fuel load's going down. Obviously, tyre deg is getting higher. The tyre's getting worse and worse. But the fuel load's going down, and they're sticking to generally the times that they did at the start of the race, which is interesting. So it means they were pretty much on the money from the moment they went green.
All the drivers in GT500 are full-time paid professionals. There's no renter drivers or paid drivers in GT500. Every single driver there is a works driver, fully paid up. And they're on quite good salaries.
Yeah, the expectations are high. Yeah, I mean, they're expected to perform at their highest peak every single time they go out on track, and they live a good life, these Super GT 500 drivers. They're a bit rock star out there. You know, it's the leading championship out there in motorsport, and for Japan, the 500 and Super Formula are, you know, the elite. You know, Formula 1 comes once a year, and yes, you're always going to get a following for Formula 1, but truly, the Japanese culture and the Japanese racing industry give all their love to these championships.
And yeah, I was just checking. I did see what I thought I saw. There is a flag in the main grandstand made of fish.
You get it all.
Yeah, absolutely real. And I think it is a Nismo fan who has fish on his flag. If you know what that's about, send us a message on a postcard or in the chat, because I don't think you're going to get a bucket of fish heads for winning this one. That's one of the other races later in the year. Now, when you were racing out in Japan, Struan, did you get any strange presents from fans?
Lots of chocolate, which isn't strange. That was nice. No, I think, like I was saying just before the race started, you just get fans that sometimes are fans of you, but they're genuinely fans of every driver, and then you get fans that are so fanatic about the whole event they just want to meet everyone and see every single car, which is, it's a really nice atmosphere to have, because, you know, they're true fans. And you know, yeah, almost a move there. What was that for P8 with Sakaguchi? Sakaguchi's an interesting driver. I raced him in Japanese F3 for a couple rounds. He has been in 500 for a bit of time now, maybe a few years, but in Super Formula he had a mega debut year last year with JP Olivier as his teammate. One race standing out in particular was Sugo, where he built out such a gap, and then the safety car came out and he had missed the pit entry to come in, so he effectively lost half a lap, and then he had to stay out on old tyres, and he still did the job. He pulled out such a gap that he boxed 5 laps to go, or maybe 3 laps to go, and came out still in the lead, which is...
What you're saying, he's really quick.
Yeah, basically he's mega. Yeah, it was a mega drive.
I know, I just noticed when you were talking about that, and I'm just going to have a look. No, I'm pretty sure there is damage on the front of the orange Arta Autobacks NSX in GT500. The front of the bonnet, the front bodywork, it's not got an engine underneath, it's a mid-engine car, is one of the other unique things about that NSX. Seems to be flapping up in the wind on the right or the left front of the car, I think. I just want to see that again, but it does look like the bodywork is coming loose on the NSX. So could that be the first and not at all predictable sign of some Honda unreliability sneaking in, or was that a bit of finger trouble in the pit lane? There is the Mega Prius, a pair of Mega Priuses.
Yeah, we've got the battle for the lead here. Kovalainen's caught up Ross to slowly a 10th and a 10th each lap. So, yeah, definitely a battle shaping up. And we've got Cassidy's. Finally, Yoshima's getting that move down on Cassidy, but he's not making it that easy.
Is he getting it done though? I don't know.
He's going to hang around the outside. He should get the entry into turn 3.
Now these two have been slowing each other down quite a lot, and you can see that Raybrig NSX beginning to close up gently on these scrabbling Toyotas, and that's let the Nismo car get away a little bit. There you see it just ahead of that, just behind that Bentley. New car in Super GT this year, the GT3 Bentley, in very patriotic racing green and Union Jack style livery. Good to see. See Frank Chen just saying, "Hi Sam." Hi Frank. So we are listening to now someone looking up, and was that the Red Bull car looking up into the Prius corner, I think it was there. And that battle is not done. So this Lexus Cup front bit of GT500, and I call it Lexus Cup because nobody but the Lexus LC500 has had much of a chance. And you know what I was saying about, no, that's not Honda unreliability. No, that's interesting. Yeah, but it's like the dolly jack behind it. Lap 19, in for fuel, no tyres.
I could have been just hoping for a quick stint on low fuel.
Yeah, it didn't look
start off with.
Well, there's nothing quick about the Mugen car, was there?
No, true. Well, not compared to the leaders, but interesting to see this Quintarelli Nismo cars pulled out. Nice gap.
These two are having a nice battle, aren't they? This has been going since the start of the race. No, yeah, the dolly jack was definitely out for the Mugen car. Now, whether it got applied to the back of the car or not isn't clear.
Well, Cassidy's just going to be getting frustrated now. He just wants to clear this car.
He's getting a bit. Oshima now is getting a bit of a gap.
Oh, almost made contact. You just got to get it done in the traffic as well. I mean, sometimes you've got to pick the right move, but sometimes you just got to be a bit bullish. Just lunge him.
Now, this is one of the things about free abreast there. That's going to be quite lively to get past. Great sound from the Toyota Prius, which has an LMP1 V8 engine in the back of it. Yes, in the back of it, that's right. Huge amount of power from that Prius, and it is a hybrid. It does have the standard production hybrid parts in that Prius, and it does have Prius road car parts in it. Quite a surprising car to see in a GT race, and that's what they found at the Sepang MME race late last year, when all these GT3 European teams suddenly were faced with a LMP1 engined Prius in their mids, which looked bizarre, and, well, it is as bizarre as it looks. But one of the things about Super GT with the two classes, the GT300 cars, they don't really have to do too much getting out of the way of the GT500. It's up to the GT500 drivers to get out of the way of to get around them.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, to be fair, the 300 have got their own race. Yeah, of course, the 500, you'd think, well, the 500 drivers will always just look at the 300 grid and be, you know, annoyed they're in the way, but the 300 have their own race in their own right, so it's a difficult one. You've got all these personalities, strong personalities in 300 and 500, all fighting for their own race, and sometimes neither one will budge. So you do find that they'll battle quite hard.
Here's Hatsune Miku, 40 kilos of weight she's put on for this race. Making quite a chunky Miku, but she still seems to have a very good advantage. In fact, these Mercedes AMG GTs, GT3s, are just disappearing off the front of the GT300 field, and this is where balance of performance, I think, goes slightly out of the window as being, well, balanced.
Yeah, and generally the Mercedes towards the end of the stint will be better on tyres, just purely on how the chassis is. It's a very drivable chassis. It's quite good on its tyres, so you can see the gap there is you know, been fluctuating between a tenth. So these two are very identical right now.
And you got Bjorn Verdheim at the wheel of that second car, a Nismo TV viewer. Hello, Bjorn. How's the beard? He watches these races when he gets home after each race to see what's actually happened, because he doesn't have a clue what's usually going on in the race, particularly in GT500.
Yeah, interesting to see now this battle for the lead in 500. I mean, it's the P1 isn't getting too far away. P2, Kovalainen and Roster in P2, Kovalainen in P3 have actually started to reel in P1 slightly, but P1 could be managing tyres slightly.
Well, Ronnie Quintarelli is quite interesting because he is holding on to fourth position, and he's sort of found a little niche in that field now. He was getting bullied rather by those LC500 Lexuses in GT500, but they don't seem to be on his case as much as they were. There he is behind the NDDP VMAX Engineering GT3 car. Now that car, there you see the two different types of Super GT car. On the inside is the white car. That is a Nissan GT-R GT3, and the red car that's whizzing past it, or whizzed past it now, is the GT500. Now the GT500 is clearly lower, it's longer, a lot more power and a lot more downforce. And you want to have a go in one, don't you, Struan?
No, I'd love to. I mean, a 500 car is mega. Yeah, the BMAX car not making it too difficult, as you can imagine, for the other Nismo car. But yeah, Quintarelli is certainly getting his money's worth. Nissan should be very happy with him. He's doing a strong job.
Now, Michael Foley, thank you very much, saying the best commentators ever. Have you watched snooker? They're amazing in snooker. And if you don't know what snooker is, don't change the channel. It's not worth it.
These BMWs are still doing a good job. They're running inside. One Beamer's in P6, which historically the Beamers in Japan don't seem to get on that well. So to be running in the top 7 in front of that B-Max car, the GT-R, which we know is a very strong package around in Japan. It's had a lot of success out there. So, yeah, that's impressive. You've got Cassidy flashing him now.
I think they've got the BOP wrong, or the Germans have got a slight advantage in the BOP. The German cars aren't normally that strong, but they seem to be particularly strong. Now, we saw the fish flag earlier in the race. Now, Sorry, I'm just looking across at our producer's laptop. MC Malicious Gravy has given us some great knowledge. This is going to sound a little bit like Call My Bluff. He says the fish flag is for the last day of Golden Week, also known as Children's Day or Boys' Day. And that's got something to do with fish. I don't know what fish have to do with children or boys, other than boys and children might like eating fish. I like eating fish. But that's what the fish flag's to do with. So that does sound like a good and logical reason. Now look at that. He's all on his own.
Oh, now he's building up quite a significant gap. Obviously, he's had a bit of traffic on lap 18 possibly, but he's just eking out that gap now from Tom's car in P2.
Now, a few questions coming in as to why we're racing on a Thursday. It's Golden Week. Golden Week is kind of like Easter and Christmassy rolled into one in Japan. It's a week off pretty much, and long bank holiday, and everybody goes out and, well, climbs Mount Fuji, sits in traffic jams, mainly sits in traffic jams, and does all sorts of other good fun things, like coming to Fuji Speedway and watching 500 kilometres of Super GT action. And speaking of that, 24 laps completed out of 110, and it is looking very good for Lexus at the moment. Particularly that Zensurumo car is just off, building up a big advantage. And the way the field ebbs and flows in Super GT means that these Lexus LC500s at the moment are in very clear air, and they are making that work. Now, is that AU Tom's car beginning to close the gap a little on the Zensurumo? It looks to me like he is. Heikki Kovalainen and James Rossiter. James Rossiter in front and Heikki Kovalainen just behind, chasing down in second position there and third position just behind. They're beginning to work their way up to the front of the field.
Yeah, I feel like he's catching up.
I mean, I think they're catching, yeah.
It'd be good to get some times in front of us, but I do feel... Well, here we go.
You were saying?
Well, that's for P2 and P3, but it does visibly, you can see that they're just... Kovalainen is experienced enough to know... I'm sure the pace is very similar between these two, but he's letting Rossiter do his work. He's not, flashing him, not going into his mirrors too much. He's letting Rossiter do his job, which helps Kovalainen catch up with P1 as well.
It looks like trouble for the newest of the GT300 cars. That is the Green Brave Toyota Mark X from Saitama Toyopet. That car is brand new for this year. It's one of the mother chassis cars, and it has struggled since it was very first built. Chassis by Dome, bodywork by Mooncraft. The team is staffed, that Saitama Toyopet team, is entirely staffed by garage mechanics who fix your car if you take your car into a Saitama Toyopet dealership somewhere in Tokyo. And they'll fix up your car. And those guys at the weekend, they go off and go racing. They also race in the BRZ and 86 Cup, and they race in Super Taikyu. The Mark X is a car you might not recognise outside of Japan. It's only available as a Mark X in Japan. And it is a really cool car, actually, if you see it as a production car, and it's only available from Saitama Toyopet dealerships. So, Will Parkinson, somewhere in the world of Nismo, has given us a good explanation of the fish flag. It's called the Koinobori, meaning the carp streamer. And the carp is the symbol of a buoy, and it is the most spiritual of fish. And that is what the commentator is clearly shouting about, or he's getting excited about a GT-R. One of the two. Have you ever had a spiritual fish?
Spiritual fish? Haven't come across one. Not yet in my life. Maybe if I go to Japan, we go to Fuji, I'll be able to find my spiritual fish.
Well, we're seeing a replay of Jan Mardenborough and Chio battling it out into turn one. And is that Jan getting it done? There's that stricken 86 again. And yeah, Chio just went a bit too deep, didn't he? And no, I don't think he got that. I don't think he made that stick, did he? Oh, look at the Gagler track now. Chio is... No, he didn't make it stick. Chio's gone very defensive. No, Chio's pitting, yeah.
Yeah, lap 26. Yeah, he'd imagine Yeah, we're going to start to see a pit stop cycle now.
No, it's a penalty. So yes, he did pass under a yellow flag. That's what the commentator was shouting about. So it was a penalty for passing under yellow for Chio.
As you can see, Motorama is ready for his driver change as well, which is Chio's teammate. That's unfortunate. That's going to put them out of the hunt.
That's going to hurt them because it is quite hot at the front of this GT500 field. Now, 25 laps, 50. It's quite early for the stops. I think we'll probably see the first wave of pit stops around lap 50 if you think it's going to be a two-stopper.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a two-stop strategy. I don't think they're going to... 2 or 3 stops, but either way, I think 50 will probably... We'll see. If it's in the next 10 laps, you know it's probably going to be a 3-stop. If it's going to be a 2-stop, it's going to be lap...
I suppose it really does depend on their data with the tyre deg and everything else around this track.
Lap 45 to lap 50, I think it's going to be about fuel mileage, actually.
You generally get high tyre deg here. The last sector does hurt the rears, and you know you can always manage fronts in a way, but rears you just need them for traction, and they're always the tyres that generally get hotter, and the pressure goes up and up and up once you spin them up coming out of all these stop-start corners.
And there you see the Arta Autobacks car right on the tail of the Wed Sport car. No, this does look like this routine pit stop window is now, so it does look like we're going to get a 3 or more stop strategy, as we saw one of the NSXs heading towards pit road. And that Arta Autobacks car, there you go, Lexus, Honda and Nissan all shooting it out in GT500. Jan Mardenborough on the back of that train from a computer gamer who, by his own admission recently, I don't know if it made it onto NISMO.TV, but he certainly said it in the interview, he never managed to complete Gran Turismo.
Really?
That's
a shame. From starting out as a geeky gamer, you'd expect that.
Yeah, and he's admitted to that he's never actually managed to complete Gran Turismo. And these days he lives next door, literally next door, to the headquarters of Sony Computer Entertainment.
It's not a bad place to be.
So here is a routine stop for the Keihin NSX. Is it going to be rear tyres only by the look of it? There's no fronts ready.
Yeah, you'd imagine it.
And there go the rear tyres on, and there's no front tyres prepared. No, that was a 2-tyre stop, so they've just changed the rear on that Keihin NSX. So I think we may see some people mixing up the tyre strategies. One of the Toyota Prius cars in there, I didn't see that was the 30 or 31 car on pit road as well.
Yeah, exactly. We have got a tyre war going on in Super GT, but generally you probably, as a driver, they're going to feel it out there. They will probably want rears over fronts because of all these stop and start corners.
In goes the Arta NSX. Now what are we seeing? Oh no, that was Jan Mardenborough trying to get a run around the outside of the Arta Autobacks NSX and making it stick, though it didn't really matter because the NSX went in the pit lane straight away after. There he is onto pit road. Now let's see how many tyres he goes for. Is it going to be a 2-tyre, a 4-tyre, or potentially a no-tyre stop? And we might see that in GT300 a little bit, who use their tyres a little bit less aggressively. No, that's all 4 going on, all 4 new booties onto the NSX this time. I like those natty gold wheels. That's one of the things that differentiates Super GT from DTM. DTM, every car has exactly the same wheel rim and wheel specification. In Super GT, you can have your own wheels, so you can bring some natty gold ones like that along. Some other standard parts being discussed for 2018. It may be that the Honda, Toyota and Nissan may all have to use the same uprights next year. I think that would be a terrible, terrible mistake if that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things you like about Super G is the openness between the regulations. You know, teams can really develop their cars and make the most of their package.
Yeah, and that's not a good thing for Super GT to limit that technical freedom. It's what a part of the ethos of Super GT is actually. The GT500 is for the manufacturers' own internal engineers and technologists, their tuning departments, whereas GT300 is more designed for the independent tuning companies like Tokyo R&D, APR who build the Prius, and even BMAX Engineering actually, who they design their own little single seat of the F4 car. But into the pit lane for some Yokohama tyres is the Wed Sport. There'll probably be a driver change, yes there is, and all 4 tyres going on. Sakaguchi's giving way to Kenta Yamashita.
Kenta Yamashita in Super GT 500. He's a graduate from Japanese Formula 3. He's a Toyota-backed young driver.
And then you've got
on the VMAX has gone off there at turn 1.
It did look like that, didn't it? Yeah. No, it was the wasn't the VMAX. It was the no.
He went off and lost this position to this Lambo. The Lambo went up the inside of him.
Now either the VVAC MC86 was coming out of the pits and was just slow because of that, or the VVAC and the BMAX got together and they were running together on the track. So I think there may have been an incident at turn 1 that we just saw. No, it looks like the BMAX went off on his own. And now was the MC86 coming out of the pits? There he is. In case you're wondering what that smoke off the front wheels of the Wed Sport car was, it was just very, very hot carbon fibre brake discs. They do smoulder away like that, and if they sit there too long, they actually catch fire, which is why you saw the chap with the fire extinguisher pointing at them. Can damage the disc if you squirt on there. Trouble, it's a puncture for the Epson. Bertie Baguette has run over something, and it's a left rear puncture. Dunlop has failed.
It's not been a good weekend for these guys, unfortunately, starting from the back row, and now they've had an unfortunate early puncture.
It's not been a particularly good 3 seasons for those guys since the NSX was introduced. Only GT500 car on Dunlop tyres. Dunlop was supposed to have increased their budget into Super GT for this year's, but doesn't seem to have made a great effect. I was going to say that if you looked at the Wed Sport is a wheel manufacturer, and it's Wed Sport Team Bando. Masaki Bando is the boss of Super GT. He's the Bernie Eccleston, or Chase Carey, if you like, of Super GT, and he refuses, for obvious reasons, to accept a single wheel manufacturer in Super GT, and I think the wheel manufacturers appreciate it. Now, here we have the battle for the lead in GT300. It's an all-Mercedes affair. It's Billy Bjorn versus Hatsune Miku.
Yeah, I think he's definitely going to be shaping up for a move now. He just had a bit of oversteer, a bit of a cross-up coming out of 130R, but you can see this Mercedes in P2. He's just found himself in a good place with the rhythm. He's slowly caught up this P1, and sometimes it's easier to chase, but sometimes it's easier for some drivers to be out in the lead. But you can see clearly the car in P2, the car's working a bit better. The drivers can watch the driver in front's every move and just make sure he hits every apex and gets it clean.
Well, someone who has been trying to keep it clean, but no, I think this is tyre degradation because these guys haven't stopped yet, but that is the battle for the lead of the race overall, and James Rossiter has caught up to the Zensarumo car. There they are, they're getting together. Now, Will they stop and make the driver change before they battle it out on track? I suspect that isn't going to be the case. There's the battle for GT300. It's all compressing.
It's all kicking off.
And will the Gainer Tanax car get a run on Hatsune Miku before it's too late? I think
Go on,
it will.
just do it. Oh, no, he's a little bit too far behind.
Oh, not by much though. Look at that. Those Mercedes AMG GTs do sound fantastic, don't they?
Yeah, nice rumbling sound. Yeah, the GT300 cars, it is easier to follow than the 500 car. Through these corners, especially the 500 cars will struggle with an aerodynamic loss when following. Is he going to think about it? No. Always forced him into a mistake there.
Hatsune Miku got a little bit.
He's on the outside line, but as we come into the next competitor corners, if he can tough out around the outside, the next corner should be in his advantage. Going into a left-hander after this right-hander.
He's got it.
He's done him. Has he done him?
No, he hasn't.
No. This is good stuff. This is nice.
Good Mercedes Cup racing here. The SRO BOP seems a little bit skewed towards German cars here at Fuji Speedway, considering the Hatsune Miku car there in front has 40 kilos of ballast.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Through these corners, it will really struggle. We'll get some rotation. Just with 40 kilos, trying to stop that compared to the car behind him will be a struggle.
Now let's see, either of these going to head to pit road? Both of them. Oh, it's going to be a battle in pit road. This is going to be great to see. I hope the camera sticks with this battle. They are both coming in. No, Bjorn's not. No.
You know what? Actually, I'm not sure. That might be allowed, but sometimes the stewards get a little bit funny about you crossing the pit entry line. They might look into that. They might not. Depends on how they feel. But sometimes you can get a warning for that kind of stuff.
Well, my good friend the Orange Cone wasn't present for that, so I think they might get away with that. There is no commitment cone in Super GT as far as I'm aware. And so I thought we were going to get a battle on pit road, but it does look like Bjorn was just trying to maximise the tow off the back of this beautifully liveried Itasha Hatsune Miku AMG GT. This is Team Good Smile, Ukyo Katayama's team in Super GT. Ukyo Katayama, famous mountain climber in Japan, who also apparently did some Formula 1 without great success.
Not sure, never heard of him.
He was a Tyrrell driver for quite a long time.
Okay. Different generation.
Yeah, very much so.
Where is...
Making me feel old.
Oh, we've got rosters just dropped behind now. This will be traffic management that's caused that.
Yeah, it's exactly that. Now the Miku car sitting there.
Doing rear tyres.
I'm curious, looking at the front of the Miku car.
Nice.
Great sound. Looking at the front of the Miku car, and it's something I'm going to keep an eye on later in the race. Now you see those very distinctive angular headlights on the AMG GT. Now, looking at the Gainer Tanax car, it seems to have a different headlight package.
Does it?
I'm not...
Sorry, this one compared to the other man?
Yeah, exactly. Now, these two cars should be absolutely identical mechanically. So when we see that car coming onto pit road, it could just be me far too early in the morning, sleep deprived, that it just looked to me for a moment they've got a different headlight package. And I'm not sure that's actually allowed in GT3, so maybe there's been some sort of dispensation as the Tom's car of James Rossiter makes his trip to pit road. He's going to try and make up that time and get the gap down to the Zensurumo in clean air when he gets out of the pit lane and put in some mega laps on cold tyres, which is a bit of a challenge, as the Zensurumo probably isn't going to come in now. He's going for all four booties on that Bridgestone shod car. So it's a 4-tyre change.
Yeah, all looks fine so far. Actually, the driver change isn't... The more experience you get, the more simple it gets, and actually you'd think you'd want to do it as quick as you can, but the quickest way is to do it calmly, really. And that comes with experience between drivers knowing each other and just knowing the routine of getting out. Sometimes you want to do the bottle first, sometimes you need to do the belt first, or the radio, and each team, each driver with their teammate has their own system of doing it.
The doors on these GT500 cars, I was holding one a few weeks ago, they're so flimsy. It just feels like it's so easy just to slam the door a bit hard and put your hand through it.
Yeah, I think even with the car coming to the side of you, it causes quite a lot of damage.
There was very nearly a bit of a mishap in that pit stop. The pit gantry was hanging down for the rear tyre changer, and it started to hang in slightly the wrong place. And it very nearly got caught on the rear wing of the car. It was only a mechanic noticing at the last minute who grabbed it just before the car drove off. Now here is second position or lead position on the road, and there is the race leader into the pits. And Mike Kovalainen is where everybody's coming in, so it's pit stop time.
Right, let's have it. No mistakes now.
And remember, we've got to keep an eye on that Tanax AMG GT as well. All four tyres on the Zensurumo car, so it's a straight fight there. All four Bridgestones on the Denso Run Team Saat car.
That's right, was that all four tyres?
It's all four. Well, there's the rears have gone on, the fronts are going on.
They could be going for a longer second stint, a much longer second stint.
Lap 35, these guys are in on. We'd expect them back then at about lap 70. So it's a two-stop. It is a two-stop race. Now, what we're not seeing, and I'd like to see, is the Gainer pit stop for the Mercedes. Oh, not brilliant on the right front there. Now, can we look down pit road and see the Gainer car? There goes Heikki Kovalainen out behind. I think he made a bit more time, little couple of seconds perhaps, on the Zensurumo car, but can we see as we go down the pit road the Gainer car? There he goes. The lights should be coming on.
Oh, he hasn't got his lights on.
Yeah, his lights on.
Maybe they do look a bit wider.
But I think the internal package on the headlights, and he's got out in front of Hatsune Miku, but that doesn't matter. The Miku car is on hot tyres and the Gainer car is on cold, and that won't make any difference. The S-Road Mola car there is a long way down. after that penalty it got earlier in the race. Now, there is the gainer car. On his tail is Hatsune Miku. Now, Miku is on hot tyres. Now,
Yeah, I mean, this will make it. I've driven that Mercedes on cold tyres. This will make a big difference.
It's going to be... See ya!
Oh, he's made a mistake as well. He's going to have some good traction off this corner. Oh, he's going to do him around the outside.
Yeah, the headlights are different, you know. The internal package of those headlights are different. The Gainer Tanax car's got round headlights inside that headlight, the same headlight pod.
Yeah, here we go. I'm not sure.
Switch them on so we can see.
I'm not sure. I'll let you have that one.
Well, we've got a few more laps to work that out, but... And if they are different, I'm going to go and have a decent look at them next time out in Japan to work out what that's about.
So in the pit stop cycle, where did he turn up? Who's leading 500 now? Oh, Kevlar is still
500,
behind
there's not been any change, but have a look in the background, a battle for third. And that is... We didn't see the Nismo stop. I don't remember seeing a Nismo stop, but he's obviously has stopped, because he wouldn't be in that position if he hadn't. There is the Wacos car. Now let's see where he feeds back into the field. Ray Briggs in as well. Now that looks like... Yeah, it only looks like front tyres on the Ray Briggs car, unless the rear tyre stop was done, but it didn't look like there were any rear tyres being removed or taken away either. So 2 tyres on the number 100. They could be rolling the dice slightly on that. There's the Zent Tsurumo car. First position, Denso second. Third position is the AU Tom's car. Now, where's the Nismo car gone?
Oh, he must have gone in for his pit.
Well, then he's lost a huge amount of time somewhere. He was
in P4.
Yeah, easy 4th.
Or he might have had a problem we haven't seen. Oh no, that's not another Honda. So now the Honda's P4. Yeah, so he's
coming in. Here is the motor, so he's in. So he's lost a lot of time.
Yeah, he's had a problem somewhere. It looks like the B-Max are doing a stop as well.
Yeah, because look, there goes the Forum Engineering car out of the pit lane. The Forum Engineering, the Kondo car, was a long way down on this car, which was in 4th position. So somewhere on track, there's been an issue for the Motor Lawtech GT-R. Now, we don't know what has happened.
Yeah, maybe someone out there knows. You can let us know.
This sounds like an RJ O'Connell question, but there's clearly been a big time loss for Ronnie Quintarelli somewhere. Sugo Matsuda now getting in the car. He's very quick around Fuji Speedway. Sugo Matsuda is actually probably slightly quicker than Ronnie Quintarelli around this track, so it'll be good to see them going for it.
Oh, they'll be happy. To get back in the top 5 would be a good result for me. It's going to be tough, and they are a long way behind now. But we'll see what you can do.
Now, Ivan Acosta is putting out, because of the pit stops, the Nismo car had actually lapped the entire field because of the pit stops. Good spot on that. So here we see it in reality. Yeah, because there goes the Zent Tsurumo.
Okay, so he's made up a lot of time.
He has made up time. He's got into 3rd position.
Good strategy.
That strategy has worked on those
very
Michelin
nice
tyres.
Oh, all right, wicked. So we've got a Nissan back in the top 3 now.
Simon Chapman has answered the question about this Mercedes package. The 2-bulb headlight that we see on the Gainer car is the endurance package.
It's a slightly heavier package.
And the Miku is obviously in the sprint specification. Yeah,
the endurance package, I presume that's more light for when it gets dark. They use the endurance package in 24-hour races to give the drivers more light.
That's it, I guess, yeah. Not sure why they weren't running it. Okay, it's 500 kilometres, I guess an endurance race of sorts, but...
They might have had damage in practice or qualifying, or something might have happened. The only spare they've got is the endurance front, so...
Now, one thing to note about that Hatsune Miku AMG GT, that is still leading the GT300 car, at least in terms of strategy, although not necessarily on the road, because not everybody has stopped in GT300, is that car will also be racing at the Spa 24 Hours this year.
Which one, sorry?
The Hatsune Miku.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and there's going to be a special, I guess, Belgian racing Miku livery unveiled for that car in the near future. Speaking of unveilings, we saw something earlier on, you were telling me you'd seen it, I haven't actually seen it yet, of a new Nissan GT-R.
Yeah, it looks wicked. Slightly lower, not as boxy as the original GT-R, GT3 design. Yeah, I mean, we don't know the ins and outs of it yet, just that the testing's gone on the way for the new car. Michael Krum was in the car doing some development, and Mitsu Takaboshi, a young Nissan driver. Yeah, like I said, we don't know the ins and outs, but the actual look of it looks a bit more slicker, a bit lower, which it needs to be to keep up with these GT3 developments.
That's going to be interesting to see how that car gets on. Going to be in action in 2018, that car. I think for a season of racing. I'm not sure it's going to be available to customers till 2019. We'll have an update here on NISMO.TV, as you might expect, on that new GT3 car. In the non-too-distant future, we'll be talking about all things new Nissans. As you've seen, probably if you hit subscribe or look elsewhere on the channel after the race, there's lots of decent videos and insight in behind the scenes of what goes on in the world of Nismo. So there's a lot of decent stuff you can see elsewhere on this channel. Too much of it with my face on it, unfortunately, but get past that and you can see lots of really cool race cars. And there's a great series of historic Nismo car features coming out at the moment on boards around this very track, Fuji Speedway, because each year there is the Nismo Festival, where all of the cars that race in Nismo's heritage and present all come together and have a big shootout. As you see, Mintzilla going onto pit road. That car will feature in Nismo Festival this year, but the 2016 Nismo Grand Prix is live and available in full on Nismo TV, and it is well worth watching just for Michael Crumb's commentary as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, we saw this cycle before, look, the Motor Lawtech car. Now, I know he's on colder tyres than the Wacos car, but it seems that the Michelin tyres on that Motor Lawtech take quite a long time to reach a sweet spot, but then suddenly come into their own, and nobody else can really live with it.
Yeah, I think it's just trying to get the Nissan to work. Always really pressuring that. It's just trying to get the Nissan to work well on these tyres and bring it up to speed, and also that's a lot of work for the engineers and drivers. It always well up for it. It's hard to defend when someone's being that attacking.
Yeah, you saw
You're
that
losing too much time as well. But with the Nissan, he'll know that he hasn't probably quite got the pace, so he'll try his best to keep him behind as much as possible.
See, the problem that the Wacos car has got is it is painted blue, and obviously the Motor Lawtech team has just an allergy to anything painted blue, and just cannot let anything painted blue get in front of the red car. But he's lost the rear again there, and that was enough to do it. He probably realised it was but look, the Wacos car is...
Caldarelli was well up for it.
Yeah. Now, if Matsuda can get latched onto the back of Caldarelli going onto the straight, which it looks like he might be able to, that's why he's taking that slightly wider line into the final turn. If he can get latched on, which I think he has, though he's pulling off to the right, which is odd unless the car's overheating. Oh, he's a bit too far back, isn't he? He's not going to be getting the toe, and look, you can see it. You can see the Wacos car driving away from the front.
Yeah, it's good driving from Caldarelli, just getting the job done as soon as possible, knowing that he's just losing too much time, and he'll see that Lexuses are pulling away up front of the top three, and he'll want to be a part of that gang.
Did you see the tyre rub there on the Wacos car? The right rear tyre rub as he went over the curb. That's why the car got a little bit loose. The right rear tyre was rubbing.
The camber through that corner does change positive to negative, so when you kind of offloading the front tyres, because of these carbon brakes, it hasn't got ABS, so they do tend to lock up.
If that's Yuki Wakisaka when he is happy, I would not like to spend time with him when he's grumpy. Probably smiles when he's grumpy, actually. Well, look at the gap, though. Look at the Wacos car has just disappeared.
Yeah, massive. And that's without any traffic. Maybe one car, but just... the Lexus car seems to be really working well around Fuji. Just as Okayama, they're doing a good job.
But the Lexus car just works really well, I think, full stop.
Yeah,
good engine, good aero. The suspension package is working with the tyre that it's got. The only one that seems to be a little bit weaker is the Wed Sport car, and that might be down to the fact that that car's on Yokohamas and most of the rest of them are on Bridgestones. Yeah,
true. Nakayama, this young guy is an interesting one. He's been in Super Formula for the last few years, and he was a Japanese F3 champion. He's in the Toyota program. And he seems to have come into his own in 300. He had a good year last year. Just Super Formula hasn't quite worked out. I don't think he's doing it this year. Kobayashi's replaced him in KCMG, but still trusted to do the job in 300, which is good to see.
Now, a lot of people talking about it must be nice being in Japan in Golden Week. Well, I know it's something we've both done. It's been a while since I was in Japan in Golden Week, because I'm normally sat here talking about Golden Week.
Yeah, so, you were enlightening me about Golden Week yesterday, so I didn't know too much about it. Yeah,
you were there, but you just didn't notice.
Probably. Yeah, to have a race midweek is a Golden Week is a Japanese holiday for a week.
It is. It's basically a week's holiday. And I remember the last time I turned up in Golden Week, not knowing what Golden Week was, expecting a whole week of business meetings and to be able to go and see teams and find out what's going on with the manufacturers. And basically, all anybody wanted to do, if they were even free to have a meeting, was just drink and eat. There was no real work done because everything was a holiday. So it was just a holiday week. And then I went and sat in lots of traffic jams trying to get to Gotemba and Fuji Speedway.
Yeah, it's classic, isn't it? Gotemba traffic.
But it is a lovely time in Japan. You have the classic-looking Mount Fuji with the snow-covered top, and then the darker colour lower down. When we were here in Fuji Speedway for pre-season testing, it looked quite different to the way it did now. It was snowed in. I actually was at the track.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
snow delay. Yeah, so I didn't even go into the circuit on the second day.
Chio put a message out on, or even a photo out on Twitter. I saw it was hailing a few days ago.
It was hailing a few days ago. I didn't realise that.
I think at the start of practice, at the start of the week, it was definitely hailing. Very, very hard snow. Hard rain.
Well, that's literally what it is. It is hard snow, isn't it? Or as I call hail, bouncy rain.
Yeah, but this time of year, it's a nice, crispy, still a little bit cold atmosphere, but summer in Japan, for those who haven't been there, it is super hot. I mean, it's mental hot.
I like it.
Yeah, it's good.
It's nice. Now, having a look at the GT300, who's pitted, who's not there. The blue blob means they've pitted. No blob mean they haven't pitted. Now, in fifth position is the Lotus Evora, running one of those extremely long stints that we've seen it run before. Now, will they try and get through with one pit stop less? I don't think they can quite do that, but it's lap 42 now. Could they stretch it out to lap 55?
Have they not stopped?
They've not stopped.
Oh, okay.
There's about 5 cars in GT300 who haven't stopped.
So the B-Max car hasn't stopped, which for GTRs is doing pretty well.
It's doing pretty well, so that they could be playing themselves into the race here. Now, if you see a car manage to keep it going, there is the air temperature and track temperature. I was going to say we needed to see that. 24 degrees centigrade.
It's hot.
Yeah, it's a lovely day at Fuji Speedway.
Nice.
That's just right, isn't it? Nice cool breeze off the mountain.
Yeah, depending on the wind direction, or even it's good. It's not too hot, not too cold. It's gonna be working the tyres, working the rears.
Great day to watch a motor race. And that is really what Ishiura is doing in that Zensarumo car. They haven't been challenged really since the first corner.
Yeah, he's just smashing it, isn't he? He's off. That P2 car hasn't really got much of a say in it. Ishiura, I'm right in saying he's a Super Formula champion, isn't he? Was he champion last year?
No, RJ O'Connell, you've got to answer that. I can't remember who won.
I'm pretty sure Ishiura was the champion last year. Or even the year before. So we know he's a very quick pedaler, and he just seems to be doing a very, very good. Yeah, Ishiura was the champion. Yeah, he's doing a great job. He's just pulling away. Times are almost nice and consistent. Not too far off each other.
Now, one of the things about these cars this year, down the straight at Fuji Speedway, well, where we are, Fuji Speedway, these cars are actually probably slightly quicker than they were last year due to the new technical regulations introduced at the start of 2017. Big downforce cut on the cars, much smaller diffusers, wider rear wing, but much smaller packages all around, slightly shorter overhangs, less downforce, slower in the corners, but in straight line speeds, they're in theory slightly quicker. 305 kph is what you're seeing these Lexus LC 500s doing as they reach, not much past the point he's at right now. Kohei Hirati there before he hits the brakes and turns into that downhill right-hander. Everybody else that isn't in a Lexus is peaking at about 299 kph to 300 kph.
Yeah, that's just not strong enough, is it? Especially around this track with all the long straights. What was that? That S Road, it's about a lap behind.
So I've just had a message from Lewis of Simons, from NISMO y Juke, and apparently there's somebody called Struan that you can watch live and in full on Nismo TV driving something called a Este on the Blancpain Endurance Series.
Oh yeah? Yeah, you can do that. So this year we're racing in the Blancpain Endurance Series with RJN, Moto RJN Motorsport. And we had our first round at Monza 2 weeks ago. We've got our home race at Silverstone coming up in next weekend. And Monza was good. to be fair, we struggled to start off with. We had just a couple technical glitches on the first day of practice. In Blancpain, you do basically a couple sessions of practice on Saturday, straight into qualifying Sunday morning, and into the race on Sunday afternoon. And qualifying, Matt Parry, my teammate, did a mega job. He put at P6 on a 54 strong car field. It's the first time that we've entered, Nissan have entered 2 cars in the pro class in Blancpain, and so it was the highest place that the 22 cars had for NISMO, which was mega, and it was pretty crazy race. I did the first stint, and I dropped back to P8 at the start. There was a big shunt. For those who didn't watch it, it was pretty thrilling race. We had a shunt at the start for Monza, so there wasn't a lot of room for many cars to go, and unfortunately our teammates in the 23 car got hit, and that was the end of their race. So it was down to us in the 22 car to carry that Nissan name, and so I went from P8 to P3 by the end of my stint, and our average lap times were right there at the front. So all in all, GT-R was a mega package that weekend. RGN did a great job, and NISMO were happy with the first weekend in Blancpain Endurance. So we'll just have to see how we get on at Silverstone. Everyone's pushing hard, and the car seems to be working well, so hopefully it's a good one.
Now, if you are in the UK, I'm going to tell you to do something that is slightly unusual to hear on this channel. Don't watch it live in full on Nismo TV. Go to Silverstone and watch it live, because you can watch all of the races in the Blancpain Endurance Series live and in full, but also on demand here on Nismo TV. So you could go and watch it at Silverstone, go and get into the paddock, have a look around, have a good look at the cars. You could possibly even meet Struan Moore. And in fact, if you say you watched SuperGT and you heard you could meet Struan Moore, they're all going to come and meet you, Struan, at Silverstone at your home race. But on top of that, you can go home and watch the race on Nismo TV later on. So hit subscribe, enjoy the Blancpain Endurance Series to its full at the track at Silverstone. And you can do that all the way through the year wherever it goes, because, as I say, Nismo TV has the Blancpain Endurance Series live and in full, and we can even see inside the cockpit. I don't think we view on the 22.
No. Great thing about Nismo is it's all live, and you can watch all the good racing. Actually, we've got a problem here for one of the Nissans.
That was the Calsonic blue car has gone into the garage. Don't know why. Had been running quite well, that car, and
that's unfortunate. That's not great.
We've been told to do another ask for subscribe and like, and if you do all subscribe and like, the blue car will come back out of the garage, possibly.
But yeah, the Blancpain Endurance Series is on next week, so please, everyone is welcome to come. Should be a good race. There's lots of cars entered, and we'll see. Hopefully the Nissan's good, but it's a Super Chuff Championship, and Blancpain is on the rise, so it'd be great to have anyone there for support.
Now, there's a lot of talk about the Bentley in this race. It's out there somewhere. But there you go. There's the cooling package going on the front of the GT-R in the Team Impul garage. Now, driver is out of the car, but it does look like they're rushing, so it does look like there's something they think they can fix. And we've cut away, so I was trying to see what area of the car they were going to be working on. I couldn't quite work out what the issue there was for the Impul car. So more likes and subscribes needed to get that one out of the garage, possibly.
Yeah, that AU Tom's car is slowly catching this Kovalainen car. Oh no, who's in the P2 car now? What was Kovalainen's teammate?
Ito, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, you caught me out there. Heikki Kovalainen's teammate's Kohei Hirate. That's in the Saad car, and James Rossiter is driving, of course.
Oh, it's now Ito.
Yeah, Ito. You were talking about Kovalainen, and I was talking about the Tom's car. That's why I was like going Ito.
Very experienced drivers, these two.
And they are closing the gap up. So here we go. Yasuda is in the car, well, isn't in the car, more to the point, but Yasuda was in the car when it came in, and we can't see what they're working on. It didn't look to me like they were working particularly on either front or rear of the car. They've jacked up the rear of it.
Yeah, it looked pretty terminal, to be honest. I don't know if the driver was in the car, but yeah, they'll always try and get back out for the race, but that's unfortunately out of the hunt now.
It's out of the hunt. I think we'll see that car back out. It's probably just waiting for more Nismo TV likes and subscribe. There is, of course, Nismo TV Japan, and they show various other stuff, but this channel is better for people who don't speak Japanese. There is definitely a ebb and flow of the battle for second, but the Zensarumo car is having it all his own way today. But this is Super GT. We're not even at lap 60. Well, that's 55, which is halfway.
Where is the top Nissan car? Where's the motor? Is that in P5?
I believe that is in P4.
That's in P4.
Still.
That's good.
P5, because we saw him lose that position to the Wacos car. You're right, P5. Well, when we get to... We still haven't seen something unusual. We tend to see safety cars in Super GT, and that tends to come from the GT300 class, and everybody's been fairly well behaved.
Yeah, to be fair, I don't think we've seen one incident. Just a little bit of rubbing every now and again, but a little bit.
There was a D-Station Porsche that managed to take an alternative route, and potential of the VMAX engineering car and the VVAC mother chassis car having a little bit of a coming together. And there is the fourth position car on the top of the screen there. That was the Wacos car. Yeah. And he has absolutely checked out, actually, and left the Nismo car to it.
Ooh, almost a bit. Yeah, Carreras has been cracking on. He must be catching up with P3 now.
And there is that penalty for the Arta Autobacks BMW. And I've forgotten what that was for, but I did know. And yet we're just having a little bit of Struan more there. Needs to make his own little pit stop. We watch the Arta Autobacks car prepare for that pit stop. But yeah, looking at those mother chassis cars at the top, you just have a brief moment where we could see the Mark X and the Lotus together. The Lotus doesn't seem too strong this year. I'm not quite sure what's gone on there. Maybe the package has gone away. They've brought a big update to that car, in aerodynamic terms, which you're allowed to do year on year in the mother chassis class, particularly Lotus, which has got its own wind tunnel model, its own wind tunnel program, conducted by Takuya Yura's Mooncraft company. They built that crazy Shiden RT based on the Daytona prototype Riley back in the day. Great car. And I hear being converted into a road legal car. We'll wait to see if that ever actually happens. There is the Bentley some of you have been talking about, just being caught up by this closing battle for second in GT500. With the Tom's AU car being hunted, as it has been for most of the race, by the Team Sard... Oh, no, sorry, the other way around. The Team Sard car leading the AU car from Tom's. And there you go, Kohei Hirate in the Denso champion car, ahead of Daisuke Ito in the AU LC 500 car, and Ito now has got into the toe of Kohei Hirate. I don't think he's quite close enough, but let's see how much ground he makes up at this top speed section of the track. He pulls out, but that's more a psychological overtake. He's just reminding Hirate that he's there and trying to force him into an error. It's not really going to work. There are clouds rolling in down the valley over Gatemba town, and that could result in a change in weather conditions, and that has a big effect here in Super GT on these tyre war tyres. Even the smallest temperature change can really change the performance bracket of these cars, which are optimised to work in a particular window. When they're out of that window, they don't work. James Rossiter there doesn't seem too fussed by it all, and waving at the crowd. He's having a good giggle until he saw the TV camera had spotted him. And oh, very close moment there for the car of Kohei Hirate, rubbing on the back of the Mercedes, an Ava RT Mercedes there, and that has cost him quite a lot of time. Kohei Hirate is right there and can make a move for second. Daisuke Ito, is right there on Kohei Hirate and can make a move for position, and that's what he thought about doing up the inside there. I think that was Hirate goading him on, but now he's got absolutely into the toe, and they are latched on, and if he doesn't make a pass now into turn one, or even before turn one, he's absolutely not going to try anywhere else. But look at the toe, he's getting sucked right along by the aerodynamic hole in the air. NASCAR style pass. Now, is he going to get it done around the outside? No. Hirate goes defensive. Will he be able to cut back on the inside? Hirate has got the better drive out of turn one as they head down the hill. He's just trying to get around the outside, not quite making that work.
Oh, he's back onto P2. Oh, he's right behind him now.
Yeah, there's a hell of a battle going on.
Nice. Have they swapped at all?
Not quite. They very nearly did. And yeah, there was a very good battle. I wouldn't be shocked if there's damage on the front of the Hirate car. He was rubbing on the back of one of the GT300 Mercedes a moment ago.
Okay.
And it was looking very close indeed.
This would be a nice exit for the 36. He's just got a bit of a better line going through this sequence right now. So he's just staying in all the right positions, cleaning up the exits. Doing a better job than P2 right now. He's making P2 slightly offline everywhere. He could even go for a lunge here. Could do it. Yeah, P2's struggling. He's got rotation in the slow stuff, mid-speed.
When you say rotation, you mean he's loose?
Yeah, it just coming up to the apex. He's just getting a bit of oversteer. The rear's just stepping out. Mechanically, the 36 is working better right now.
Yeah, but look at the toe he's got now coming past the pits, going super defensive right up against the pit wall onto the dirty stuff. Both of them. He's going to try it up the inside. It's not going to work from there, but he's going to try and get it into turn 1. He's going to try that same move again. Nearly made it work last time, but didn't quite get it stuck this time. Rosler and Cassidy sitting there in the Tom's garage. And these guys are absolutely... well, they're having fun, aren't they?
Yeah, they're enjoying it. I mean, I think P3's enjoying it a bit more than P2.
Yeah, exactly. Defending is much harder.
Yeah. Well, we've got a bit of traffic coming up now. Right, it's even. It's even now that P2's he's probably not watching his mirrors so much, just trying to focus on hitting his apexes and getting the right exits.
Now look at that, you can see it on the top of your screen while the GT500 battle is on screen. The reason we haven't seen much of GT300, the battle for the lead, is Hatsune Miku, complete with her 40 kilo addition to this race, is 11 seconds in the lead of GT300. Now there's the Not All Works penalty.
Right, this is interesting.
That's zonted him.
Oh
no, that's not what you're supposed to do into that corner. They are not going to be happy with each other there.
It didn't need to happen either. It just didn't need to happen. And
there's damage there.
I mean, you can argue from the outside. Sorry, the car, the other Lexus, the white car on the outside of the Audi. You know, here at this point, he's got to make a decision. He goes to the left. The Lexus, the Tom's car goes to the right. You can argue that he just can't see him.
Do you know what I think happened there, actually? That's true. And I think the AU car got his wheels on the grass, lost a little bit of traction, and that slid him out, and he got him.
I mean, if it were me, I would anticipate him just doing it anyway. He's going to have a crack. He's been there for a few laps. I would be wary of it, but at the end of the day, you're travelling forward. Where can you go? So, yeah, it's a tough one, but the AU car did. He was a bit aggressive there, and the grass didn't help.
That Audi must have been a bit worried. It'd be a great onboard.
Yeah, it's a shame because they'll probably get a penalty now, and it was unnecessary. But it brings Caldarelli back into the play for the top 3.
I'm not sure they will get a penalty for that. We'll wait and see. Sometimes the penalty application in Super GT is a little bit questionable.
I suppose, yeah, they like them to rough it up a bit, but I don't know, with his experience getting on the grass, it just did look a bit untidy.
Now there they are. Maybe there isn't damage on either of those cars. They are still battling. But one of the things, looking back through the field, we did see the NISMO number 23 car lose a spot to the Red Bull Tom's car. So still struggling to make those Michelin tyres work for a full stint for the 23. And here we see it again now, up the inside. Now look, he gets on the grass there quite a lot. Gets a big bite of grass, loses traction, and just slides into the Sard car there. I
mean, that's a part of it, of why he hit him, but also the car on the left had already gone in fully hard. He'd gone in as hard as he would any other lap, so he's on the limit, and that corner is tricky. If you're going to go up the inside of someone, it's one of those corners that the gap just disappears. Unless you've fully got alongside them, you're just going to make contact. So he probably would have been better off just to follow the other car around the outside and wait for another crack at it into turn 1. But he's a racing driver. He's got to go for these gaps, and Yeah, he went with his instinct, but unfortunately they made contact.
At the end of the day, he got the position, though, didn't he?
Yeah, but I mean, if it was me as a steward, I'd be quite keen on reeling, reining him back in there. And Blancpain, if you did that, you would get a penalty. So I don't know. The different championships, different philosophies, but I don't know. It was on the border, surely, of being legal or not.
I think it was. I think it was fair, actually. I think it was fair racing. It was.
God, I wouldn't want to race you.
Yeah.
Punting me off.
Oh yeah, I would do. Yeah, lots. I think that was fair. I think that was. He made a mistake on the grass and got a little and tagged the other guy, but it wasn't deliberate. I'd be doing it deliberately. And here we see what the effect of that is the Wacos car has got now nearly right onto the tail of the Denso LC500. It is still a Toyota benefit at the front of GT500. Now, looking at the top of the screen, now I think there's an error on the positions.
Okay.
Now, we've got the Saitama Toyo Pet car as being not scored, and I think it is still out there and running around the track, because I've seen it a few times. But there is damage on the... Yeah, I thought there was. There is damage on the front of there, and there is the front dive plane of the Sard Lexus. Yeah, that's a bit of your car, mate. Sitting there in the middle of the racetrack. He doesn't seem too upset by it. Heikki Kovalainen, Grand Prix race winner, Race of Champions winner, and now full-time Super GT driver.
Yeah, legend.
And you can see that damage on the right front of the Denso LC500. He's lost his whole right front.
See, this number one car still mechanically just looks poor. It just doesn't look like it's got it. I mean, yeah, he's slightly offline. Cadarelli's pulled off an almost identical move of what he did for P4.
And that we know now that Hirate's car's a little bit damaged.
Yeah, but in terms of it actually affecting its performance, I'm not sure it had the performance. It just doesn't. I mean, look, even now you can see closing in onto the onboard of the car. It just looks like in the slow speed, the last sector, it's so important around this track. You just find tenths and tenths of seconds in that final part of the track. So, yeah, it just doesn't look mechanically that well balanced.
There's a big chunk of this. Looking at the front bodywork there of the car, you can see it quite clearly. There is a big chunk of bodywork missing off the front of the Denso LC500. And that is not going to be helping its cooling or its aero package or its handling at all. It probably create a little bit of understeer and imbalance on that car. And I think you're now going to see the Denso car starting to fade through the field. Only one confirmed retirement from this race, the Arto 86. The slower of the two Toyota Priuses, the number 30, is scored still, but it's said to be 10 laps down. And the mother chassis, Mark X, is said to be out of the race as well, but I caught sight of it only a few laps ago, so I think it is still out there.
And gap very fluctuant at the top, to be fair. From lap 51 to 55, it hasn't really changed dramatically in the grand scheme of how long this race is.
Tells the story though. Look, there's the Zensurumo race leader, 11 seconds ahead of the next nearest car, another Lexus. But what's that just behind him? It's a GT500 car, the Epson NSX. Now, we saw that have trouble earlier in the race, but it's lost the lead lap.
Which one, sorry?
The Epson NSX. We saw it with the puncture earlier in the race.
Right,
They've now lost the lead lap as a result of that. And then behind it is the Mugen NSX, which we also saw have a very early stop, I suspect for trouble too. So it is not going well for Honda. Here is Hatsune Miku. Another dominant. Nobi Taniguchi is off in the front of the pack of GT300 last time by the stripe. It was 11 seconds. And we'll find out what it is next time by the stripe. Running 1:39.6.
Yeah, high 139s.
Very consistent. 39.5, 39.7, 39.6. Flappy bodywork we've seen all the way through.
What is that lead gap in 300? Oh, is it gone up? It was 13 seconds. It's massive.
find out in a minute. Oh, it's gone up. Yeah, it's gone up. So, in case you're wondering what that flappy piece of ribbon was on the pit worker's arm, you get those little ribbons in Japan, and that means you're allowed on the pit wall.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they don't hand them out, but it's it's a ribbon to have if you're in the paddock.
Not quite sure you couldn't get your own bit of green ribbon and safety pin it on your sleeve, but
I'm sure someone can make some money out of it.
Yeah. Maybe they change the colour of ribbon each race. I don't know. Probably not. There is second position in GT300. Look at that gap. The gap is coming down there, Struan, down to 9 seconds.
Yeah, coming down pretty substantially actually. That's basically 2 seconds, 10.9 to 9.0.
And we saw that the Miku car isn't in traffic, so and is running consistent lap time. So that P car and P2 did have better pace than the Miku car initially in the first stint. Before the pit stop cycle, it was very, very close between those two. So potentially the P2 car is working better as well at this stage, and yeah, by the looks of that gap, he's taken 2 seconds out of him in 5 laps. So you'd imagine with that rate of progress, he could be on the back of him quite soon. So let's have a look at the comments. TR Ian says, all this rubbing and the lack of penalties or black flags, that's because in Japan people race properly. None of this messing around in Europe, all these pampered racing drivers not learning to race properly, getting a stock car, you know.
I think we'd like to race properly,
really?
But we're forced to just think about things every now and again. I will be, honestly, I still will be surprised of if he doesn't get a penalty in the number 36. It took him out of P2. You know, it should be fair all the way across the board to even P15. If there's contact and you take someone out of a position, generally the rule is that, you know, you get a punishment.
Nah, it was fair racing. Just proper fair racing. That's proper racing.
It's fair enough. But I can see. I mean, I don't agree or disagree. I think it's all good. It's all good racing, and that's what they're there to do. If you're not, you know, cracking on and sometimes making a bit of contact, then, you know, is it racing or not? Yeah, it might not be the fairest racing, but you want to see them pushing. You want to see them taking it to the next level, which is on the limit.
Outspear44 says, live with no Honda interruptions. That's right, we are live here on Nismo TV. All Super GT races this year and in recent years have been live and in full, bar 2, for reasons we won't go into, in full on Nismo TV. So hit subscribe and hit like if you like all of this sort of thing. You can go back and watch the history of the Super GT and some of the older races and some of the older cars, indeed, on this channel elsewhere. So tune in after the race. Nismo TV themselves are telling us that Hakune Mitu is pronounced Hakun. I'm not sure that's true. I don't think that's true. I'm going to stick with Hakune Miku.
I'm going to go with Hakun.
No, I'm going to go Hakune Mitu. Hakune Miku. I'm pronouncing the E. Anyway, we do have all of this Super GT loveliness all the way through the year 2017 and hopefully on to 2018 as well. I don't see any reason why not. There's Mintzilla, popular car in the chat, but also we will have, I think, the Nismo Grand Prix at the end of the year. That's not been announced yet, but I think that is in the plan. And of course, all the Blancpain Endurance Series, in case you want to cheer on someone called Struan more.
Yeah, it's all there.
Keep going all through the comments. MC Malicious Gravy thinks Epson Honda was an alternate pit strategy. No, the car had a puncture, if that's what you call an alternate pit strategy. The tyre went broken. Alex Howman says Lexus is untouchable right now, and if by right now you mean the opening races of the 2017 Super GT season, Alex? Yeah, you're right.
Oh, look. I thought so. He's got a drive-through penalty.
Well, there you go. So clearly, I'm not the race steward.
Yeah, I thought it's definitely got to be a penalty. If it was me, I'd be like, "Come on, man."
See, now I think that's fair. That's fair. But it's just he got on the grass and just lost it. It was a mistake. I don't think that should have been a penalty.
Mate, if it was me, I would know. I'd be like, "Oh no, that was beyond cheeky."
Right, everybody on the chat room, if you're listening to this, let's play race steward. I am a race steward. I say no penalty. Struan says penalty. What do you say at home? Do you think that should have been a penalty? We want to hear. We'll call it out. We'll have a little vote, and it's election day in England, so we'll have a little vote to see who is right. It's also Star Wars Day, isn't it?
That is very geeky of you to say that. How is P4 getting along? Oh look, the Cassidy and is it what's his name? The Cassidy's teammate is what is his name? I can't remember, but he's catching P4 now.
There is trouble with that, of course, that car. Look, we saw it's carrying damage, so that's why that is happening. Questions coming about why are the 350 and 370Z not in other races? They race in Super Tycoon and in GT4, so you'll be able to catch up with those in the European GT4 Cup, where there are some very nice RJN built GT4 cars running around, and there's some very similar cars running around in Super Tycoon series, and you'll see some of those in the NISMO Grand Prix, and you can watch the NISMO Grand Prix from 2016 here on Nismo TV.
What was your prediction on the second pit stop cycle? You were thinking around lap 70. Did we have the first one? Was it lap 30 or lap 35?
I think lap 70. So that lap 35 for the first stop. So I think in about 9 laps time we'll get proper pit stops. That was the drive-through penalty being served by the AU car. Malicious Gravy, MC Malicious Gravy, you were right, I was wrong. They were reviewing the video. They probably won't review the telemetry. And the vote, everybody voting for penalty. So, well, I'm in the minority, used to that. Mr. 400 BHP says he's here for the Mugen NSX. Sadly, that car has had trouble in this race and isn't really that competitive. It's over a lap down. Keep going through these comments.
It's Hirakawa in P4 catching P3. Should get the job done quite soon.
Lots of comments coming in about the relative success or otherwise of Honda in motorsport in general at the moment. And having a look at all of the different comments you're putting in. We love your comments coming in, and it does seem like everybody is agreeing that there should have been a penalty. I'm just not going to agree with you. Perfect Man says the NSX is the ugliest GT500.
It's different. It's a bit more. There's a lot more going on with it, I think.
Yeah,
I mean, it's more futuristic.
Its engine's in a different place as well.
Yeah, it's a completely different concept, really.
No, it literally is. It's a mid-engine car, and there was a front engine. It uses a slightly different monocoque, which isn't as stiff as the monocoques used in the Lexus or the GT-R. But the monocoques, the chassis, I've been told that after a few long races like this 500-kilometre race here at Fuji Speedway, they start to go off quite quickly in the current design, and that's something that's concerning quite a few of the teams. And they're bringing in quite a lot of new monocoques quite quickly into these GT500 cars.
The Honda, you say?
On all of them.
Okay, well, I mean, I suppose that's interesting. But on the other hand, it's not bad for a driver getting a new car every every few races. But in terms of the design, that's interesting.
Treen, I think he's made of wood. That's an antique stroke, so I don't think anyone is going to get that.
Interesting.
He thinks the Lexus is the ugliest.
I think they're all pretty cool, to be honest. I like the Nissan. The Nissan looks the less aerodynamic one, maybe. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the Lexus looks more or less aerodynamic. I think the Nissan's pretty cool, but the Lexus is clearly the one working the best.
The Lexus works aerodynamically, but you're right. The Nissan. I'm not just saying this because we are on Nismo TV.
I think it looks really cool.
I think it looks unbroadcastably cool.
Yeah. That was close. Yeah, I think all the I mean, you can't not enjoy the look of that 500 car. It just looks mean. It just looks like a weapon. Interesting to see that P437, the Tom's entry, is not actually getting past P3 now. Once you catch up to another car in front, sometimes, especially in the 500, when you catch up, you do tend to lose a bit of air. Something I touched on before. It does make the job slightly harder, and as I'm talking about it, he's done the job, so never mind. But yeah, sometimes when you follow in these 500 cars, there is a big chunk of air as a whole getting created in the air, and that air can't go through the aerodynamics. So when you're following closely, it makes it difficult. And as we can see, P4 coming back at P3, he's done it legally, not crossed over that white line. He should. Well, they got a 300 car as well in front. Nice, let's have it. It's a good job. This is a nice battle.
He's going to try and get back around the outside as they go into the left-hander that comes after this section.
Come on, sometimes you can get it done around the outside.
Nah, not this time.
Can he do it here? Come on.
He's going to try, but it's just
he knows
it's not.
He's going to get P3 at some point.
Yeah.
He's doing the sensible thing.
Going around the outside.
Not like the other sister car. I think it was a bit malicious. But
going around the outside can bring some unseen hazards. We saw it very briefly there. You can see the general detritus and crud in the dirt. Yeah,
do it. Good lad. Good lad. You can see he was going to do that. That's nice. It's always nice when you properly overtake someone like that. He's got a bit of defending to do now, but he'll clear him. He'll be absolutely fine. The next two corners, he'll get the traction. Out of the next two corners, just seems to be working better, that car up to this stage. Obviously, the number one has a bit of damage, but still, I just think the other cars around it are working better mechanically before the damage.
Now, all of your likes and subscribes here on Nismo TV have worked. We've got the Calsonic Impul GT-R back on track in GT500, but we need more likes and subscribes. So the more likes, subscribes, comments we get from you, the longer we'll let the Calsonic stay out before sending it home again. And we're getting some comments coming in they are going through very quickly. Some comments about cars that people would like to see running in Super GT. A comment asking for big, dumb American cars. So there used to be a Viper in this series, and of course there were negotiations for one of those Riley Technologies built Viper GT3s to come and run in Super GT. It didn't ever come together, but as far as I know, that chassis was actually built and is still in North Carolina currently. Sean McCormack is asking us, did we work out the headlight thing on the AMG? We believe one is the endurance package headlights and one is the sprint race package headlights. So that is the best theory we've got so far, and I think that's probably accurate. Yeah,
I mean every GT3 car has an endurance package and a sprint package just purely for the lights. If when it gets dark they want stronger beams, but the endurance package is always slightly heavier. So we were wondering why they're running the endurance package. Maybe there is something different aerodynamically on the front which they think is helping the twisty bits, or maybe they don't have a sprint front with them. So yeah, we're unsure of exactly why they're running different ones, but we believe that's the reason.
Tom Anderson asks, I was surprised we haven't seen someone bring out a mother chassis MX-5 for GT300. That is a brilliant idea. The mother chassis package means basically you have to buy, there's quite a few of these cars running in GT300, you have to buy a single make monocoque, which will make front or mid-engines. You have to use the same gearbox, largely the same suspension, and the same V8 engine, and then you do your own body to suit the model of car that you're doing. So you've got the Lotus Evora, you've got the Toyota Mark X, which in my opinion is the ugliest car in Super GT. Being ugly doesn't mean it's not cool. I think it's deeply cool, but I just think it's not very attractive. And you've got the Toyota GT86. The mother chassis cars have been a bit anonymous in this race, but they're usually highly competitive, particularly at some of the tighter tracks. So what other cars could you do? The MX-5 is a brilliant idea, I think. I'd quite still think a Morgan mother chassis would be brilliant. That would be quite a fun one to see.
Yeah, I drove a Morgan actually for the first time last year. Just a mega brand with lots of heritage to it, British heritage. They do have, I think, a one-make series.
Do they?
In the UK. Or they definitely do some racing. They do some track days. Oh, we've got a problem here.
And it's for the leader. Hatsune Miku is broken. Out of a dominant lead, that Mercedes has gone awry. It's a puncture. It's a left front puncture. Well, that's a turn up for the books, and that means that Bjorn Verdheim in the Gainer Sanax car will take the lead, but he'd already closed the gap substantially.
Yeah, he was flying. We've got the Nissan motor car coming up behind him now. He was flying. I think he was going to catch him anyway for sure. But yeah, it's a shame because we would have liked to see Bassa there for the 300 lead.
Paul Petras says, why are the Audi R rates so slow? I think that's got something to do with the balance of performance, or perhaps they don't work on this particular track, which is high speed. So all 4 tyres being changed now for the Miku car. Whilst that's lost them time, this is lap 67, so it's not a catastrophe in terms of strategy. Now, whether they can make that work from 67 out to the end, lap 110, I'm not sure.
Very true, actually. We were anticipating some pit stop cycles to happen now, so it's not the end of the world. If it happened 10 laps earlier, then yeah, it might put them out fully of the hunt. But in this sense, yeah, they might not be too bad, actually. They've just got to make these tyres last a bit longer, and around this track that's going to be a lot to ask. But we've seen that Mercedes holds up quite well with the tyre deck. But the Mercedes has gone, another Mercedes has just gone into the lead, so therefore if he can stay out for longer, his tyres can stay fresher later on in the race.
And fully engaged on social media across a bunch of platforms, something called Twitter. That's at Twitter, I think that's at Nismo, on Insta thingy, which is a /Nismo, and on the Fleecebook, which is Nismo. Just type Nismo into social media and just talk about Nismo on all the platforms of social media. You were on something called Snap Nismo earlier, weren't you?
Snapchat?
Yeah. I don't really even know what that is.
Snapchat?
Yeah.
Oh, I think someone was saying to me the other day, Chris Buncombe actually was saying, you know, you use Snapchat, what's that all about? And no, it is actually such a popular platform, but I mean, he was meaning in the sense that it's quite a young thing to use, but yeah, no, it's a good way of interaction.
Well, there you go. That's what I've been saying all along. Absolute, undeniable evidence as we see Miku losing a place to the Lexus there. Just behind Lexus is the car I believe to be the ugliest in Super GT, the Toyota Mark X, the Green Brave Saitama Toyo pet car.
That is terrible, isn't it?
I think it's cool at the same time. I mean, it's one of these weird GT cars that turns up from time to time in Super GT, which I absolutely love. But
it just looks old school. Really.
Yeah, I know,
it looks like
cool.
a Noble in a way.
All 4 tyres for the Autobacks NSX, and that's lap 69, so that's a scheduled stop. But that car on the timing is said to be retired. It's clearly not.
I don't know what's going on. Yeah.
It's clearly not out of the race, so it's just not very competitive. 16 kilos of ballast, as you can see on the screen there, for the Tsurumo car. Well, the way things are going, they're going to have a hell of a lot more for the next race, because the ballast is decided by how many points you have.
Gets doubled.
What do points mean? Points mean ballast.
Yeah.
Apart from in the last race where it doesn't.
Exactly. At this stage, it means ballast, and we're pretty sure it doubles. How many points you have, the ballast doubles. So you can imagine later on in the year, the cars, the times will decrease. Lap records will be harder to break.
Exactly.
The ballast is getting higher and higher.
30 kilos of ballast on the Wacos car. Now, there is a fuel flow limitation on these cars. One of the things a lot of people criticise Formula 1 for at the moment is they don't like the fuel flow limit. I think that's largely because no one's really explained what this fuel flow limit is. Fuel flow limits don't ruin racing, they actually improve the racing significantly. It doesn't really create a fuel consumption run or anything like that. It just means that instant, in any moment, the fuel squirted into the cylinder cannot exceed a certain amount, or the fuel squirted into the injector rail, if you like, cannot exceed a certain amount. And it just means it puts a real pressure on making the fuel really efficient, and it's why you see engines like these 2 litres pumping out such crazy horsepower, because the manufacturers have been forced to spend an awful lot of time making really powerful, efficient engines, and I think it works really well. So there will be alterations to the fuel flow limit used as part of the success ballast formula.
Yep, for sure. I can see that.
And in terms of the pit stop regulations, you cannot change the tyres on the car while the car is being refueled. There's no tyre warmers either, so that's quite often why you see the mechanics using the fresh tyres as a handy seat.
Yeah, and I like the idea of having not tyre warmers. I mean, it makes it really tricky coming out the pits, but in the sense that it's the same for everyone, and the pit stop cycles, when it unfolds and you come out, it's another skill that the driver has to have. You know, some drivers are better on cold tyres than others, and getting the car at working temperature. And we've seen with the Lexuses possibly working better than the other cars, possibly working better than the Nissan on warming its tyres and getting the car to work well with the tyres quicker.
Now, here we see the effect of that damage on the front of Kohei Hirati's LC500. Sugo Matsuda in the number 23 Nismo car is right on his tail and will probably get that done imminently. However, it's lap 70.
Yeah.
Which means it's pit stop time.
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
I was hoping we'd get one of those fixed cameras, all the cars whizzing past the camera so we could hear them and have another little bit of a crank it up session, NASCAR style, but it doesn't look like we're going to get there. But we will bring you some more sounds of Super GT in the next few moments.
He's just got no mechanical grip.
Yeah.
You know, and he's pushing so hard on the entries. He needs to take it a step back. But he's definitely got a problem, and he's also just finding it difficult to manage the car in Sector 3. I'd like to see a lunge here. I'm not going to lie. Just do it. Lunge him. Come on.
He thought about it. He thought better of it, though. One of the reasons we're just sort of waiting is we're about, I believe, to get a massive flurry of pit stops, and so does Ronnie Quintarelli. That is why he's standing up in his gear, ready to get back into that number 23 Motul Ortec GT-R. And these pit stops, I think, will be the final stops in the race, and they're going to be crucial. Now, look at the gap at the lead of GT300. That problem for the Hatsune Miku Mercedes has seen the Gainer AMG take the lead of the class. Now, they've got a 5-second lead over that Lexus RCF, which is the car you tipped at the beginning of the race to win it. And it's now not looking like such a long shot.
Yeah, well, I had a feeling it was going to be good. I knew the I knew the Merc would always be a strong package, but I thought it would be boring to predict that, because without the problem on the Miku car, it would have been in contention. So yeah, quite keen to see that Lexus get up there and hopefully get into P1.
There's some good comments coming in about those mother chassis cars. The RX-7 would be a good idea. I'd like that. RB26 is an SR20s looking for chassis. Tom Anderson is asking.
All right, here we go. This is going to be interesting. If they clear all of that traffic, if they don't, it will be interesting going into turn 1. It's not going to be easy. That Nissan has really just not got the power on the straight, and it looks like they've cleared them. It's a bit more work to do for the Nismo car.
Oh, that Lexus didn't see the Motul Ortec GT-R coming up his inside there until the last minute, and that could have ended nastily. One of the things about Super GT, these GT300 drivers have to keep their eyes on stalks. Rear tyres only for the Not At All Works Teddy Bear BMW.
Good job though, these guys done a good job.
And B-Max in as well for... Now that was tyres leaving. Oh, there you go. Now the tyres weren't ready. That was very leisurely. And here we go, the AU car. Tom's, I was wondering where that had gone. There he is, in the pit lane. So this is the scheduled final stop. James Rossiter retaking the wheel.
Where did they come out after the drive-through penalty? Were they outside? They were outside the top 5, weren't they?
They were, but it was the drive-through. It took away the chance of a win, I think, for this car, but they can still get some good points out of this race.
Yeah, sure.
And he's still not got it done as they catch up that Prius. Yes, that is a Toyota Prius. That's not an Uber driver who's got lost. That is a Toyota Prius getting very close on the back of the Nissan there.
Is the Nissan going to box? One more lap maybe? No, they're both going to box. Are they?
No, the Motul Ortec car is changed strategy.
Okay. Now he's got a bit of clean air. He will be able to...
He's going to try and get the undercut and get past him.
Yeah, and he should be able to do it. He had more pace than him. He was just getting held up.
Yeah. A question came in about the monocoques for the different cars in GT500. So, in GT500, all of the cars, such as this one you're seeing here, utilise essentially the same monocoque. So the Lexus and the Nissan GT-R use the exact same chassis. From the same comes out the same factory with the same stickers on, and it's a single
That's
design.
remarkable, isn't it?
The Honda uses a slightly different chassis, because it needs to have the engine at the back of it, and it needs a bit more clearance at the front for the front wheels turning, and that affects the stiffness on it. Now, when I was talking earlier about the stiffness going off over time, this is particularly true, I believe, for the Lexus and the Nissan. The Honda's already lost stiffness because of those cutouts on the front of the front wheels. So these chassis are, on the Lexus and the Nissan, are identical in design to those used in DTM, but the ones used in DTM come out of a different factory. I hope that answers the question. Well, that was a good noise.
That was that signalling. I can't remember at Fuji what the sound. Every time the car comes into the pits, there is a certain sound at some tracks. You get a horn, you get a beep.
That's not the pit. That's not the Fuji pit hoover. No, I don't know what that sound was. There's Mintzilla getting 4 tyres in the background as we get the Denso LC500 coming out of the pits. Where's he going to feed back into the order?
So we haven't. The leader is still out there with a 20.9 gap. That must be after pit stops. The leader hasn't pitted yet. The leader is a Lexus car.
Now, one of the conversations we can see going on in the chat is a lot of you are talking about rotary engines in Super GT. It has, of course, happened before in GT300. I personally think it would be brilliant to have a rotary engined Mazda of some description in a mother chassis car, and I think that would be a fantastic idea. And I do know for a fact that Masaki Bando of GTA also thinks this to be a good idea. But here is a key moment on pit road, which is where the race action is at the moment. All the key cars aren't moving forward.
No. That's all 4 tyres for the leader in GT300 as well. So
that was the Leon car rather than the Gainer car that we were just looking at. I think the camera picked up the wrong Mercedes. Oh, that Lamborghini was very close on pit exit to the Wacos car as it was leaving. I thought they were going to have a little bit of a coming together. But as you'll see, there's the Wacos car and there is the Lamborghini. Now the Leon car is not the one that was leading the class. That was the Gainer car, but we are watching the Leon pit stop. Now it's a very competitive car, this. Oh, and that was definitely an unsafe release there. Now the camera, we just saw a bit of distortion on the camera as that happened. But as the Leon car left its pit box...
Struggling to get out. What's wrong?
Oh.
Sometimes when you're getting out of the car, the belts can get buckled in.
It's not affected how long they're going to spend in the pits at the moment, because if you look, the fuel is still going into the car.
Yeah, to be fair, driver change, you have got a significant amount of time. The only problem is it's a bit of a nightmare when the driver's still trying to get in, they're trying to do the tyres.
Yeah, I was just looking at something on the car while I was waving my hands around if you're watching Studio Cam about something else. Set of scrubbed fronts but brand new rears onto that Zensurumo car. It didn't cost them much time because the driver change was going on while the pit stop was taking place, and you're allowed to do that, so that's why they're able to do that. Just saw the mother chassis Green Brave Saitama Toyo Pet Mark X disappearing back into its garage, so maybe this time it really is retiring.
Yeah, unfortunately it looks that way. Yeah, but scrubs for the front is not a bad shout. You know, helps bring the tyres in quite quickly. They obviously feel like they're, from the data they've got or the feeling from the drivers, that they don't particularly need new fronts. So that's going to be them all the way to the end of the race now, so hopefully they can hold on. Is he weaving quite a lot?
Yeah,
he's warming the tyres, but I mean, you can argue
there's a Nissan a little bit close behind him to do that, I think.
You can argue that one a little bit, in the sense that he's not defending, but he's not far off.
Look at the amount of marbles down on the side of the track. It's just covered. Yeah, it's going to make it very difficult to go offline and overtake, but in Super GT, you have to, because GT300 exists.
He's got there's a lot of brake dust coming off in the front left of that Lexus. The one that got hit from P2. This Nissan needs to get past them. They had the pace over them before the pit stop cycle, didn't they?
They did. Here you go, mate. Obviously we were going to see the lap times there, but obviously the TV producer thinks that we didn't want to see the lap times on that Motor Lawtech GT-R. I would have quite liked to have seen them, but TV producer thinks not. Maybe they'll bring those graphics back for us. We know they listen into it, but maybe this is why they didn't show us the graphics. It doesn't matter. In for 4 tyres and a Ronnie Quintarelli. And that's a good timing. Still, the rotary conversation continues. A good reason about the fuel, the oil burn and the fuel consumption on them. I still think a triple rotor, get one of those oil LMP2 triple rotors. I think they were built down in New Zealand that you used to see in that Courage C65 that used to race in the American Le Mans series. I think one of those dropped in the back of a mother chassis car, or indeed the front of a mother chassis car, would be awesome to see. There is the Gainer Tanak's Mercedes. And here comes the Motor GT-R, which was leading at the time, GT500. The reason we're really talking about that is he's going long on the pit window, lap 77, trying to get an advantage, but I don't think it's going to be enough to take over those Lexus cars at the front.
No.
The Zensuruma car is just a bit too far ahead.
And there's just too much time in the race. The pace deficit is just too large at this round.
I agree. Full visor tear off.
So they're doing the radio before anything else, before the belts. The driver gets in, the other driver will take the radio off the helmet, slot it into the car. Typically he'll do, the driver outside the car will do the driver's belts, the left side of the driver's belts, and then the driver in the car will do the rest of the job with the right side and make sure he's all comfortable, and the guy getting out can crack on and get some water and chill out.
Laptop requires a pit stop. Sakichi says Mooncraft Sheeden comeback when? Never, sadly, because it's banned essentially because it's not really a production car. Great burnout as you from the Motor GT-R. I'd like to see that. We have great coverage from all of you on all social media platforms: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. That's at NISMO/NISMO. On YouTube, you're watching on Nismo TV, like and subscribe that. We can get the more of you, one of the key things about Nismo TV and Nissan in motor racing, the more of you that engage with Nissan and tell us what you want to see, the more stuff we can bring you. So let us know what you want to see on Nismo TV coming up, as well as more shots of those Audi wheels. They're brilliant, the red and yellow.
Yeah, they're wicked. You see Cassidy should be able to get rid of Quintarelli quite quickly around the outside. Quintarelli's experienced enough to know that Cassidy's just going to breeze past him at this stage. So we've got another Lexus coming up behind him. That's for P5, I believe.
Well, it did look like some of these guys were struggling to get tyre temperature, and he has got that car that he was hunting. So he is in the correct position. So this is a
if he can keep behind
tyre temp battle. So yeah, he's going to have the tyres in pretty soon now.
Oh no, he's just come out the pits, Quintarelli though.
That's right, yeah, but I think if he can get the tyres up to temp pretty soon, he's going to hold that position.
He's going to... This is the nice thing about Fuji, is it's like a left leading to a right, leading to a left, and you can just have all these switchback attacks.
And now here, this is where he's going to lose out, because he does have this top speed deficit to the Lexus cars, and he's got no one to get a toe off. So I think he's going to have to get alongside and get right into the back of that toe.
Oh no, he's found some power.
He has. We found a lot of power. That's why.
He's found engine mount one.
No, he hasn't. What you just saw,
the toe.
And I hope we can see that again. Oh, they arrived at the front corner and found a GT300 sitting there, and the Dento car got there, but I don't think he's going to keep that. What you actually just saw was a textbook example of the effect of a two-car tow, a two-car tango.
Yeah.
So the fact that suddenly you notice the Nissan got a bit of performance and pulled back on it, it's because the Wed Sport car got into his toe, and that affects the drag of the car in front as well as the car behind. He suddenly essentially got pushed along.
The 300 cars in front, you mean?
No, it was the fact that the Wed Sport car was right up in the toe of the Nissan, meant that the Nissan actually got a drag reduction and then actually managed to drag back up alongside. And there's a little bit of side draft going on as well. So that was... it was. I'd like to see that again, because that really was like an example of what you always hear them talking about at Talladega and Daytona and stuff like that.
I think as a driver, they always, when you're in the toe and you're catching, it just gives you this moment. You're like, right, I'm going to have it.
Yeah, you can feel it.
It gives you the kind of gives you that instinctive to go, right, I'm going to have a lunch.
Well,
I'm going to do it. I'm catching him.
Let's cut away to look at a guy with spiky hair. Don't want to see that. He's a racing driver. This is the toe. Now let's see. Now we know the Lexus has got more power and a better top end, but the Nissan is right into that toe, and it's a double toe off the back of the Porsche. So if he just latches right on and
come on.
I think he pulled out of the toe a bit early, you see. So
he's
lost
outbraked
that.
himself though.
Oh yeah. I just love how brutal these GT500 cars are. You can see the way they're moving, the way they're reacting.
Oh yeah,
when they're going through the gear set, you could see you could see the sort of the movement of the car as you've got those torque splits.
Yeah, the damper's working. Yeah. Left or right, where are we going to go?
I think they've learnt that lesson, haven't they?
Right, come on. Through this bit, the Nissan seems to be working quite well compared to the Lexus.
It is. In Sector 2, it does seem to be the better car, but in Sector 1, it's just losing time down the end of the straight. It's just far too much time loss.
He does seem just to have a nice balance, Quintrelli, through this part of the track. He's hitting all of his markers, keeping it nice and tidy, making sure he's got a good exit.
It does bode quite nicely for tracks like Autopolis and perhaps Sugo, for the Nissan, that it could work really nicely at those tracks. So he's in the toe again, coming along the start-finish straight. Can he get it done this time?
He's definitely close enough for a good toe, but there could be a 300 car just in the distance that might be helping. He's pulling away.
See, look, there you go. The Lexus has just got a bit too much grunt to make it work.
I know, there's no traffic in front now, so this is a nice, clean...
Look at the movement on the rear.
Oh, he's done it. He's gone for a lunge.
Yeah, he's
good lad. Very nice move.
Easy peasy.
Oh, he would be right on the limit there.
Now he's going to have to defend all the way down to this next left-hand corner.
He's not going to be able to.
And it looks a bit unstable, that. Yeah, he's really pushing. You can see that just... Because you're watching this on YouTube, probably, it means you can cycle back and watch your own highlights, basically. So what I'd recommend you do, if you're watching this, particularly if you're on demand, is just skip back a few seconds, look at the way that red Motor car is moving around under braking. He is absolutely on the ragged edge in that car.
Yeah, he's loving it. I love the whistling sound. Yeah, especially through 130R. These 500 cars.
Let's have a listen. I love the noise you get on the overrun there, the crackle. One of the things you notice between the three different NRE 2-litre engines, they're called, in these GT500 cars, you can tell them apart at quite a long distance. Some of them, the Nissan's got a particularly aggressive popping, banging. The Honda, as you could just hear, it sounds more like a sort of... Someone equated it to the cannon on the front of an A10 Warthog, and I think it's a pretty accurate description, actually.
You'd imagine Rosler can make like work of the Honda in front. He's definitely got more pace.
It's good to see Honda back competitive in Super GT. Now, they've still got a long way to go, but everybody's got a long way to go to make it a viable car against the Lexus. I mean, we'll see that now, I think, with the AU car, what the real performance difference is between the Lexus and the Honda. Here in GT300, there is the Leon car, and what are we seeing? A change of position with the teddy bear BMW. It's all about the Germans today, isn't it?
Yeah. The BMW, like as we were talking about before, it's surprising. Just historically, it doesn't seem to get on that well in the Super GT series, but it's found a rhythm this weekend.
We need to get some more likes from you. Nearly 1,000 likes. So we need to get some more. If we keep 1,000 likes, otherwise we'll retire the Calsonic car. If we don't get 1,000 likes, the Calsonic car will retire. And then Jan Mardenborough will cry. No one wants to see that. The D-Station Porsche, fastest lap in GT300, a 1:38.083, and you can see why he's right on the tail of Hatsune Miku, and this is absolutely crucial for third position. That Lexus RCF, by the way, we didn't see it, we didn't talk about it on track, but it's now leading GT300.
Really?
Yeah.
Mega.
And I'm not,
Nice.
I don't think that is on pit stops. And Hatsune Miku there, absolutely defending like crazy against the D-Station Porsche, but out the pits comes the Itsunomiya Audi. This is trying to use every little piece of racetrack to get past Hatsune Miku.
It's a bit much, the weaving. I don't know, if someone was doing that in my moves, it wouldn't really distract me. That's a bit too much, to be honest. You can do it on the way into braking zones, just coming out a little bit into the driver's sight in the mirror does offset you slightly. You always have to just quickly look at your peripheral as you go into the braking zone if he's that close to you, so that can offset you, but weaving like that is...
Oh, look at that, they went together as one car, didn't they? Now look at this Porsche just doing everything to get past. Seems to have a lot more grip than the Mercedes to be able to be positioning the car the way he is at the moment.
Oh, I wouldn't be having that if I was the Mercedes. I definitely want to keep him behind.
That's your job as a racing driver, isn't it?
Yeah. He's just the way he's attacking though, it's quite a little bit frustrating for the Mercedes because he's just doing it at any point he can, and it's just, I mean, it's not a bad thing for the Porsche. It's just making it difficult for them to manage their pace. You know, there's the right time to do it, and then there's being over attacking, I think.
He's getting right into the toe now. I think he's got to have a lunge into turn 1. And I don't think it might not even last to turn 1. It's when it's weaving around though, because that's... the AU car finally gets it done on the 100. That's not really the battle we wanted to see. This one is... Funny camera angle.
Yeah, I like that.
It's quite cool, racing, isn't it? Oh, and the D-Station has done it, got up the inside.
Come on, let's get him back.
He's going to win it, yeah.
Good waft.
Yeah, he's in a good position now. The left-hander, no, it's not going to work. But it's not done yet between those two, I don't think. So we are, I think, looking at a straight run through to the finish. The performance of the Lexus is quite clearly underlined by the scores you just saw on your screen. Even with the drive-through penalty, this car, the AU Toms LC500 driven by James Rossiter, currently in its 12 kilos of ballast, is easily able to make up and hold in 6th position, which is really impressive. Notably, the mother chassis Mark X car is back out on track, despite the fact the timing system still seems to think it's retired.
Okay. How's BMAX going on? Well, they're in P7.
Yeah, they're working their way through. Having a fairly quiet race here, I think, with BMAX. Again, I think there's a few BOP. They adjust the BOPs for each race.
There's definitely a BOP deficit going on with BMAX. Historically, it's a really strong track for the GT-R. But the German manufacturers seem to be dominating this one.
A question has come in saying, if teams want to save fuel, why don't they take off the turbos and run bigger engines or something? That's not quite what I mean. What I was talking about was the efficiency. So the combustion efficiency. The higher the combustion efficiency means the more power you can get for a given amount of petrol. So if you think something's 50% efficient, and that combustion is 50%, essentially 50% converted to power and 50% into useless heat and stuff like that. So the more efficient the burn of the petrol, the more power the car gets for a given amount of fuel. So that essentially, if you've got a high efficiency engine, the more fuel you dump into it, the more power you get. Using a bigger cylinder or taking away the turbocharger would essentially reduce the efficiency and make it slower. I hope that makes sense. Meanwhile, on track, the gap between first and second in GT500 is getting bigger. 14 seconds at the moment.
6/10 in 4 laps. It's just creeping up nicely for P1. He's doing a good job.
Yeah, and the lap times there, I mean, they're fluctuating. That's largely because of the traffic and the GT300 cars running around, but temperature's starting to drop off a little bit here. It's getting late in the day at Fuji Speedway. They're not going home yet. I think they're just going to get something to eat. There's still a lot of racing to come. This is SuperGT, and with lap 85 of 110 to go. That's an awful lot of action still coming. And then, of course, at the end of the race, podiums. which take a while here.
So many different trophies and presents.
Yes, indeed. What if anyone gets wood today? Here's the leader in GT300. Very impressively accurately predicted by Struan. However, look at that. That's the story of that class. Last pit in lap 41. That Lexus owes us a pit stop. It must be running on fumes. So I discount that car because he cannot go to the finish as he is, which puts the Gainer Tanax car into the real lead of this race. In GT500, that is not the situation. The situation is, as you see it, all of the cars have made all of the stops that they need to make. It's another Lexus benefit with a cameo appearance from the Motul Ortec GT-R, and that's encouraging to see that a track like Fuji Speedway, the Nissan, does work, and it means when we get onto the tighter twisting tracks in the middle period of the season, we could see that Motul Ortec GT-R in particular, and the S-Road Mola, if it gets the same tyre specifications as the Nismo team does, those two could be really cars to watch. And I think they could have a very strong run into the latter part of the season. When we get to some of the slower tracks, like Motegi at the end of the year, you could really see something special. Now here comes that GT300 class leader into the pits. He'll have all 4 tyres, I suspect, driver change and fuel. Bjorn Verdheim will, I believe, assume the lead, but it depends how much time has been taken out. Is that Bjorn Verdheim going past the pit lane?
Yeah, it looked like
I think it was, though it is quite easy to think you're seeing the Gainer car and you're actually looking at the Leon car.
Very, very similar liveries.
Now, the timing screen is still telling us the Toyota Mark X is out of the race. It clearly isn't. It's out there. The number 30 Toyota Prius has had some sort of trouble, but is also still circulating. We'll update you on social media after the race, at NISMO, at Race Car Engineer, and on all the social media platforms and Facebook and all those good things, as to what the fates of some of these cars are. We won't find out that until later today. In reality, there is a routine pit stop for the Lexus. Now, where will he rejoin the track and who will be around him?
So where is he meant to be? He was in the lead. Where's he meant to be coming out? Because he was running in the top 3. He was running P3.
He'll be near the front of the field. I know the Lotus is in the pit. That is late as usual. I don't know if the Lotus is actually serving a penalty, because there doesn't seem to be any work going on that Lotus. So I think the Lotus is either in trouble or serving a penalty. There is a Prius. They're not really a feature. There is the Manipa Lamborghini, the Golf Porsche. So that is where the Lexus has fed out. And there is the Gainer car. So this strategy might have worked for the Lexus.
Very interesting.
That is the real...
To be fair,
well, that was the class leader, but look at the gap between the Lexus.
Massive. To be fair, the Lexus was only running just over a second off the fastest lap of that category, 1.4, 1.3 off per lap. So it was really good pace.
7.5 seconds as they went across the Sector 1 stripe. Now that Lexus is on cold tyres, and you're going to see that gap disappear very, very quickly, because the Gainer car is on good tyres with a good driver at the wheel.
So my prediction?
Your prediction is...
Still stands.
Pretty darn accurate. And we'll see where the Gainer car is. He's barely in the camera shot, actually. We'll see him coming around the corner there. So just behind the Subaru, that is the Gainer car. TV director following, for some reason, the wrong car. There you go. That's the one you're looking for.
You'd imagine this Gainer car can catch him. I mean, the pace of that Gainer car has been super strong.
They've got some tricky traffic around them there, Struan, though, because you've got the BRZ Subaru, which is a lap down but running in the same class. And then between them, you've got the Arta Autobacks BMW as well. So it may be they can pick up a tow off those two. There's the S-Road Mola GT-R mixing it up. But this is looking very good for Lexus. The Lexus GT3's first ever Super GT win.
Yeah, I mean, even if they get on the podium, that's still a proper job. So obviously they'd want to win. We all want to see them win. But you know, their first season in it would be really nice to see them win for sure.
Home race, of course, for Toyota. Now that BRZ has got out of the way of the Gainer Tanak's Mercedes. He's still got the Arta Autobacks BMW to deal with. But look at the way that gap came down. 7 seconds, 4 seconds, 3 seconds, 2.9 seconds now. That was down to the tyre temperatures. Now it's just going to be a straight fight between the Mercedes AMG GT of Bjorn Verdheim and the JMS Run Lexus RCF. That's the new 2017 specification car. Brand new for this car. It's not the same car that you saw racing in America last year or even racing in Super GT last year. This is a new Lexus RCF GT3.
Yeah, very young program, just at the start of it. It's quite nice in 300. We've seen battles pretty much for the lead all the way through. 500, Lexus is kind of checked out for P1, but we've seen this Mercedes has to work so hard all day. He seems to be always chasing P1. And he's had the pace to be P1, he's always seemed to be chasing it. Apart from, well, had a bit of fortune with the Miku.
Hatsune Miku, yeah.
Hatsune Miku had a puncher.
That was a disaster for Hatsune. So having a look at that gap, I can see it by my eyes, not by the stopwatch, that it is coming down. I think we're going to get a battle for this class win on track rather than on pit strategy. Someone diving off into the pits in the background. Doesn't matter, they weren't in competition or contesting any major position.
Yep, 20 laps to go, roughly 20 laps, 21 laps to go, so it's a sprint race now for these guys for the lead.
2 seconds now, 2.059. You can see it on your screen. Bjorn Verdheim is eating into the lead of the Lexus RCF on Toyota. It would be very rude to come along and win a race on Toyota's home ground.
Oh, someone's gone
definitely
off.
gone off there, yeah.
It's a big place to go off. Thankfully, it's a good run off here.
Didn't see who it was. Probably GT300 though. Very, in terms of incidents in this race, it's been very clean, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Very, very clean. Normally you'd expect in a 500-kilometre race somebody to have a mishap somewhere.
I mean, it's been pretty well behaved, just no major shunts.
Yeah, exactly.
It's still been good close racing. Bit of contact every now and again. But yeah, it's been pretty well behaved.
Not been many moral driving hazards.
No, such a strange analogy. Moral driving standards. That car's now out, actually, isn't it? Was it? It never. Is it coming back for round 3?
No, the car is still in the race, but the driver was the one that got banned.
Okay.
So yeah, that gap is coming down. 1.7 seconds in sector 2. As they come to the end of sector 3, I'd say that was more like 1 second.
I reckon. Oh, it's 1.4 now. Jesus. Yeah, no, he's catching him chunks. But I don't know. I've got faith.
Well, there's a Calsonic car. That is going to stay out there if you'll keep hitting like and subscribe here on Nismo TV. I haven't quite seen how many likes we've got to, actually. Over 1,000. Okay, so we can probably keep over 1,000 likes. I think we'll leave the Calsonic car out for the rest of the race now. Maybe. If we reach 2,000 likes by the end of the race, we'll give it its lap back and let him carry on racing. So here you go. The Prius has not really featured. None of the non-FIA GT3 cars actually have been a major feature of this race, and I think that's going to have an effect on the performance balances going into the next race. There do seem to be a few politics around the BOP in GT300, and a lot of it's to do with the Suzuka 10 Hours race coming next year. It's been announced that won't be a point race for Super GT in either category. Obviously there'll be no GT500s in the 10 hour race in 2018, but it won't be a GT300 points race either, because there will be a very large prize fund instead. 30 million yen for the winner. Huge. Of that race. Well worth having, a good victory. And 3 million yen for the leading Asian entry.
It's very impressive, isn't it?
So a good prize pot for that race. But look at the gap down here between BMAX, which is hunting down the Leon AMG GT. That's gone down from 1.7 to 0.5. Now, it's very nice watching this battle for 6th or 7th.
You can see there's so much character in that GT-R. The way it moves, the way it rolls. You can see air. You can see the car. The roll in it is massive. You're going left to right. You can see the car Even the dive on the brakes.
You just like it because it's got the same paint job as your one.
Yeah, I mean, it is nice. I just love that you see so much character. The Mercedes just looks planted, you know? It's a really impressive GT3 car, that Mercedes. It's arguably, you know, one of the best in the business right now, that GT3 car. It's the drivability of it, customers like it, works very well as a manufactured car in all of the serious stuff. A lot of the factory drivers have a lot of compliments about the car, so yeah, GT3 just getting more and more developed now.
Well, the gap's down to under a second now, but that is a lot down to the traffic that you can see that these cars are in. There's GT500s, there's other GT300s. Lots of lapped GT300 traffic at the moment. There you see the purple Mercedes GT, AMG GT. And well, that's definitely less than a second gap there between the leader in GT300 and second position. Lamborghini separating them, and that purple Mercedes as well. Now that means for the gainer car, he's going to get one almighty toe off this train of 4 cars. Let's just hope the Lamborghini realises they're not racing for position.
Yeah, it's always the trouble. Whenever you come up to people, they just fight you anyway. The marshals can't keep up with all the blue flags. Only for the 500 drivers, so they really know if there should be a blue flag out.
So that's 200,000 British pounds, unless the economy collapses even further in the next 2 days. But it's 200,000 British pounds for winning the Suzuka 10 hours. That's a pretty good budget.
It's worth doing.
Yeah. It's worth having, yeah. You're not going to turn it away. It's more than you get for the scratch card in this series, that's for sure.
You see the Mercedes taking that line through the 130R. We're talking about it kicking up the dust. Most cars do tend to kick up dust on the inside of the apex there. That's just the nature of that corner. You can really just start to not cut the track, but use everything available on the inside.
Yeah, some comments coming in about the purple EVA AMG GT, you know. The fact it's not keeping pace with the other Mercedes AMG GTs in this race. One of the things about this series is it's a real mix of teams. GT300 is really a pure Pro-Am category, with a professional driver typically in most cars and an amateur driver in most cars. There are some exceptions. The Nissan, the B-Max Nissan is
it's a factory.
It's a factory car, and it's essentially a factory car, but it's run with. It's usually a young driver and an old hand, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's switched. Mitsu Takaboshi is the young driver who's an F3 graduate. He did Blancpain last year. Yes, kind of stellar reputation in single-seater stuff, and he's been doing a lot of GT300. Yeah, you tend to have. It's good to have a young driver with an older driver to bounce off the experience. The younger driver learns from the older guy, and the older guy has to keep on his toes because he's got someone after his job in a nice way. So yeah, it's a good package to have. And the B-Max car, yeah, like we said, it is a private team but with a lot of factory support.
110 lap race, 94 of them completed. Tachikawa in the Zensurumo Lexus LC 500 having it all his own way at the moment. But the gap is coming down.
Yeah.
But I think that's only really coming down because the Zensurumo team, Tachikawa, is really just cruising to the line.
Yeah, well, potentially.
Well, he'll have to stop cruising quite so much of that, because that rate of fall, or that rate of close of gap, will mean that the Wacos car will be on the tail of Tachikawa. Those clouds moving up the valley, but it's not going to make a difference now.
At this stage, he's pushing P1, but he's not under a huge amount of pressure. So if he needs to turn it up, you'd think he'd have the grip underneath him, or the car even underneath him, just to turn it up. But right now, he can manage it. He's in a position where he's able to do that.
Travis Burdick. Yes, indeed, those are happy clouds. They are the illustratory cloud of this region of Japan.
Some questions coming through about flashing lights. Yeah, this is basically just to warn the drivers behind them, especially the 500 drivers to the 300 drivers, that they're imminent. It's not random how they do it. They try and do it as strategically as possible. Especially when you're racing at night, you don't want to flash too much because then you're just confusing the driver in front. Until you're imminent, you're right there, you're ready to do it, then you flash. So they know, okay, he's probably going to do me. But you get some drivers who just flash and flash and flash. And actually that can sometimes slow you both down because the driver in front doesn't know where you are and actually you're not close enough to overtake. So, yeah, you have to be strategic with when you flash.
Absolutely. I was waiting till you get that. Danilo Pimenta says that thing is not a Prius by any means, it's just the headlight stickers are the same. Not true, Danilo. That is actually a real Toyota Prius. What they do is they take a lot of the production car chassis, so the A-pillars, the roof, a chunk of the roof, the front bulkhead, some of the floors, some of the other bits and pieces. The entire hybrid system doesn't actually come from the Prius. It comes from the Camry, but it's the Camry's production hybrid system that they muck about with at the APR. Then they whack in a LMP1 engine, obviously, into the rear of it, make it rear-wheel drive. It drives through a Hewland NLT gearbox, full-on race suspension front and rear, and then the bodywork is all proper. And it's not just headlight stickers, they are real working headlights. So the actual headlight lens on the Prius is the standard production headlight lens. And it does use the standard production Toyota Prius badges. So there is some Toyota Prius in the Prius. More geek knowledge, brilliant geek knowledge from the fantastic RJ O'Connell from SuperGT World. He said if Tachikawa wins this race, he'll move back into a tie with Sugo Matsuda for the most career victories in GT500 at 18. I'm actually surprised it's quite so low at 18.
Sorry, what was that? Oh.
The most career victories in GT500 is Sugo Matsuda at 18 at the moment. But if Tachikawa wins this race, he'll be tied for the most career victories.
Wow.
Good stats,
yeah,
RJ,
nice
and excellent geek points. I'll challenge you to a game of Street Countdown later.
We've got an interesting battle for P4 in 500. The Nissan is coming under pressure from that Kovalainen Lexus car, which they've been battling pretty much for the last 40 laps on that position.
And that would also be Tachikawa's 8th win at Fuji Speedway as well in GT500. So of those 18 wins, 8 of them came at Fuji Speedway. So he's a bit of a Fuji specialist there. Needs to try a bit harder at Sugo and Autopolis then, by the sound of it. Oh, and there's trouble for... He spun, yeah. Heikki Kovalainen had an issue. You're right, that car just isn't working today, is it?
Yeah, it just doesn't seem to be working well in Sector 3. Just so much rotation on the rear.
And look, is that a lap he's lost to the AU car now?
No, that was for position. He was battling with the Nissan for P4. He was right behind him. But...
Oh yeah, of course he is, yeah. So they are... And now he's going to use the position 100.
Oh, come on.
To the 100.
Let's have it, come on.
There is... no, we saw that before at Fuji Speedway, but... I do wonder, yeah, it just looks to me like that number one, the reigning champion Lexus car just isn't working for some reason today.
Yeah, even before the contact, it just didn't seem to have the balance. Sector 3 really hurts them right now. As you push down to the marbles there. When you get onto the marbles, it's just got no grip. It's like literally driving onto water when you go into the marbles.
And Heikki Kovalainen there coming up behind one of the two Toyota Priuses in this race. And just blowing right by it. Now that is, bear in mind that Prius has got an LMP1 engine in the back of it. And just look at the ease with the speed that the GT500 just strolls past.
It's going to be a difficult debrief after the race of the number one car. There's going to be a lot of comments. Yeah, it's a shame. Well,
having a look at the lap times there, look, you can see the effect that spin had. 8 seconds it cost Heikki Kovalainen. Not normal to see Kovalainen make a mistake like that. And Kohei Hirate doesn't look particularly impressed by it. Biera-sama said he thought he heard there was a Bentley in the field. There is! It's just chugging around in GT300, not really doing very much at the moment. Great to see where you're all coming from around the world. In case you're wondering where we are, we're in our secret location, the NISMO bunker which we have shown some pictures of and some details of elsewhere on Nismo TV. You can see the big Nismo garage in the bunker, which we've got the black GT500 car and some GT3 cars in there as well, and some other secret stuff. So you can have a look around the Nismo bunker.
Kovalainen's catching back up with, he's putting the leader of 300 in a bit of
into
position. But Kovalainen's coming back at that Honda.
He is definitely coming back at the Honda now. This is 300 battle is the one I'm most interested in, because it does look like the Gainer Tanak's car has lost a bit of go.
Still not that close to fastest lap. Well, 39.2, sorry, no, my mistake, very close to. Actually, no, 38.0 was the quickest lap we saw.
38.0, yeah. So
yeah, the pace has dropped off slightly.
11 laps to go for these GT300 cars.
Sometimes the track evolution and the air temp going down, track temp going down, you do see quicker times. But yeah, seems to be doing a mega job, this Lexus.
And it's done it on the pit strategy. Look, lap 41 was the first stop, and lap 80 was the second, running a 40-lap stint then, going slightly longer. Still a two-stop strategy, but going slightly longer than the Gainer car, and that has managed to let the Lexus sit out in front. So it suggests the Lexus is actually quite kind on its tyres. That can suggest more than one thing.
Which is similar, you'd think, to the Mercedes.
In the background, a lot of people asking about Bentley. There it is. It's not in third position. There's the second position car. Third position car is the D-Station 911. Quite surprising, because that had some moments early on. The Hatsune Miku had trouble. She's in fourth position.
Yeah, that's what that Porsche's actually done a pretty good job to stay in the fight, to be fair. It was struggling for pace early on in the race.
You predicted that. You know these GT3 cars quite well, don't you? Anyone would think you're like surrounded by them every other weekend. Silverstone coming up next weekend, everybody. Tune in. Live on Nismo TV.
It's always nice when you can have a close-up of them in the car. So, do we have onboards?
We occasionally get onboards in this series. It usually comes from Subaru only, and the Subaru's not very competitive, and we don't always get onboards. They do have onboard cameras, but the onboard cameras do not feed that footage in real time to the TV broadcast, so you tend to get the onboards after the race.
Okay.
And you can buy magazines that have the onboard footage as a DVD on the front cover. Okay. So I've actually got, I haven't watched it yet, I've got the DVD of the first round onboards from Lexus.
Okay. You can see that the Mercedes is, to be fair, he's a couple tenths off. Just seeing his lap times there, he's a couple tenths a lap off now, the Lexus. So that must be tyre deg for the, the Lexus is just managing the tyres better than the Mercedes at this stage with only 10 laps to go. You'd think, you'd hope the Lexus has got a big enough gap for their sake.
I've been asked a question about the Bentley again. I don't know why that's garnering so much interest today, but the Bentley is something people want to see. It's not the same team as far as I'm aware running that car, but it just has a very, very similar livery to the cars running in Blancpain. I think a lot of the Bentleys have very close paint schemes, even though they're run by different teams. Yeah,
quite nice. They've kept those colours coming out to Japan, and also the PwC Pirelli World Challenge in America. The livery is the same for the Bentleys there, which is nice to see.
It is, and Bentley. It's great to have Bentley in racing. I think.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
it's fantastic to have them in action. Though the car is quite similar in some ways to other cars from the same group.
It's quick.
It is quick.
In Blancpain, it does seem to go very well. They've had good success.
Well, anything that's got my old mate Lena involved is always going to go quite nicely. So. Something is going very nicely. The gap is coming down for the lead of the race, but with 10 laps to go, I think Tachikawa's just, as I said earlier, I think he's just cruising this Lexus in. For the first time, I think, in the history of Super GT, we may see Lexus winning both classes of the race. And cool. To do it at Fuji Speedway in the 500-kilometre race at the Golden Week, it'll make Scott Brownlee of Toyota Europe very, very happy indeed.
That's a big party.
And look, as you can see, the afternoon's drawing in. The air temperature's falling to 19 degrees centigrade. Track temperature down to 29 degrees centigrade. It'll be a nice evening in Tokyo. A few drinks outside on the patio, or perhaps giving up on the traffic jam and taking the train back into Shinjuku.
It's not a bad shout. It's probably what I do. Yeah. Or if you're at F1, you can just get a helicopter.
Yeah, that's right. There is a bar at Katemba Station, and it has got some nice outside seating there. You are allowed to have a drinking, but For me, it'd be a Yabisu on the romance car on the way back.
Oh,
and so there's some
off.
trouble for somebody who runs Yokohamas. Well, isn't that a conundrum?
Okay, we could have a safety car. We're going to have
It's the Lamborghini, and that looks like a safety car scenario.
9 laps to go.
They occasionally do leave things. It's the Arido car, but not Arido at the rear. It's Hiramine. This is one of the teams that's adopted an extra driver for this race. The 88 Manipa Lamborghini. Now, they were quite high up in the order in GT300, and the right rear wheel has parted company. Will that mean a safety car with 9 laps to go?
I'd like that.
Super GT doesn't like to throw. GTO don't like to throw a safety car so late in the race. There's the car that isn't in the race, apparently, according to Timespeed.
I mean,
because it takes them about that long to get the race restarted.
If all 4 tyres were on the car, you could probably get away with not doing a safety car, get the car out of there immediately. But it depends on how quick they can clear it off. In Europe, you might be looking at a safety car. We'll just have to see. To be fair, this 38 car in P1, he's pushing. We had a bit of a lock up the lap before. The low 32s is what you'd expect at this stage on these tyres from this car. So he's definitely pushing. He's not holding back too much.
Doesn't look like they're going to throw a safety car, which is a good thing to do. 6.6
Oh god, it's gone down a lot.
It's coming down really quickly.
He's on it. I think he's
go.
definitely on it. He's
That's
got to
over
be
a
on
second
it.
a lap. He's in munching through. There might be a bit of traffic involved in that, but
To be fair, you can't manage at this stage. The gap's gone down that much. If it were me, I'd be.
we need to see a nice long shot actually down the straight to see what that gap really looks like and where the cars are positioned. I think we'll see that any moment as the camera angle switch. There we go. There is your race leader. Now look in the top of the screen. Now I don't see any more white headlights apart from that Honda, which is way down. Great sound. So there's Hatsune Miku. She's not.
I love the sound through this corner now, 130R. That whistling. It's nice.
The sound of these GT500 cars. Now, I know one of our regular Nismo TV viewers isn't watching. And you may have noticed somebody's not in the chat room. That is because he's at the track. So it's great to hear that some of you guys are now actually getting up and going to the circuit. And we don't mind you not watching Nismo TV if you're going to go and watch Super GT in person, because it is the best way to experience Super GT. And of course, with Nismo TV, you can watch all of this action on demand. So I see one of you guys had to go off to work, and that's a shame, because I know in Europe it is about time to get to the office and start working, but we've still got a race on here in Fuji Speedway, so stay tuned. And if you do have to pick up that or go to that important meeting and you can't postpone it, and you can't skive off and say the trains are late or whatever, well, you can watch all of these races on demand in your lunch break, as long as your office doesn't block YouTube, which they shouldn't. And if they do, get onto your IT department and say you want to watch Nismo TV. Thumbs up, hit subscribe, because we support Team No Sleep and we support the best motor racing in the world, which right now is Super GT.
Yeah, it's kicking off. It looks like the car's cleared, actually. That tyre car is probably clear. It looked like it from one angle before.
And there is the Green Pave Mark X car, which is... The cameraman isn't even bothering to focus on now. What he's looking for is that car right there. Yeah. Nick Cassidy in the 3rd position, keeper Tom's LC500. So he gave a little bit of a rundown of where the cars are in reality relative to each other. I think those gaps, 7 laps to go though? Yeah.
The gap actually looks quite stagnant now.
Yeah.
It's at 7.4, it's 7.1 before. Cass is just, you know, he'll be quite pleased with today. You know, he's sitting in P3, they won the first round, extending the lead in the championship, I presume. Yeah.
Well, Lexus can't really complain. It's all top 3 of the podium, you know, all 3 steps of the podium.
No, it's a good job from Cass there. Good job from his teammate. They should be happy with today.
And a win in GT300. It's almost enough to make Toyota send a press release. Almost. But yeah, live on Nismo TV. If you like this, there's more of this coming up. We'll have all of the races for the rest of the year live and in full on Nismo TV. Blancpain Endurance Series. That's next weekend, is it?
Yeah, we've got Blancpain Endurance. Nismo competing with RJN in the Blancpain series, Blancpain Endurance Series next weekend.
And that's every session as well. Every
session's live.
And I think there's just a rolling garage camera that just runs for the entire race meeting. So the chat goes for the whole race meeting, I think.
Yeah, we've got pit stops as well. The liveries are so cool in this 500. I love that Red Bull. The livery was just on for that. I think that's wicked. But there's such a bright liveries. The rims, as we were speaking about before.
And this Autobacks car, the colour, it doesn't really work well on screen. But when you see that car in the flesh, it is such a bright orange. You can hear it.
Yeah, it looks loud.
It is such a bright. I mean, you really just notice. It's like Dynarod orange. If you remember the old Dynarod vans in the UK, it's more orange than that.
How's that Lexus getting on?
Which one?
In 300.
He's still got a bit of a gap. It looked to me like the Mercedes was falling back a ways, and it didn't look too competitive at the front of 300, which is why I think we're probably not seeing it. I'm thinking the TV director just likes this Autobacks car at the moment.
We haven't seen much of it, so...
We haven't seen much of it. I'm not quite sure why we have got such a focus on this number 8 car at the moment.
Should be 7.5, GT500 lead. Very chilled, very stagnant.
Yeah, 7.5 to 24
controlling
seconds.
the job.
This car we're looking at is in 8th position? 9th position. Not near or threatening any other car in the field, so genuinely not sure why we're looking at this car with such intensity at that moment. But we do get, here you go, a full lap of Fuji Speedway on board, well not on board, off board with the Autobacks NSX. And here's Hatsune Miku in 4th position. Kataoka at the wheel. Not the greatest race for them, a puncture ruining their race, but showing how competitive these Mercedes have been.
Yeah, they could have been on the podium today.
Oh, easily. I mean, this was their race. They were fighting for first or second in this race, and that puncture's really cost them.
It's a long game, the year, but I mean, for the ballast, could help. I mean, being in the top 5 is fine, really, in the grand scheme of it. The whole year to go, it doesn't hurt them massively on ballast. Obviously, it's nice to get a win, but if you can stay in the top 4 all the way throughout the year, you're looking at a really strong chance of the championship win.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, and Miku's in trouble again.
We shouldn't have said anything.
It's another puncture. It's another rear puncture for Hatsune Miku.
It's a left front, actually.
Is that not? That's left rear, isn't it? No, you're right. Left front. Yeah. That's the same corner. So what's happened here? Is it the splitter or is that the rim on the ground?
It's cutting the tyre. There'll be bits of...
Because I was already down at that point, but what is it?
There'll be bits of debris coming off that car and...
No, the splitter's on the ground because the tyre's already gone, yeah. Well, isn't that interesting?
That's mad. That's not fair.
4 laps to go. 4 laps to go. Well, in terms of ballast, they'll be very light for the next race.
Yeah.
Coming in a bit too quick there, I think, for a car that has got a puncture.
Yeah, he's flat out.
Yeah, you're going to damage your car that way. You might end up in the pit wall if you keep doing that. Yeah, that is a disaster for that team. Real shame.
That was a very comfortable P4.
That will promote somebody.
Well, the Nissan, the Beamer goes up as well, I think.
Yes, I think it does.
The Leon is in the hunt as well.
I think the Leon, yeah.
The Porsche definitely goes up, isn't it? Oh, the Porsche was in P3.
Porsche's already in P3, yeah.
Nice.
So one of the questions coming in. The usual question, what's the difference between GT500 and GT300? Power.
Yeah.
Basically, rules and power. But GT500, a lot more downforce, a lot more power. than GT300. A GT500 car is essentially an LMP1 car, not just in its construction design, but also in the pace around a track like this at Fuji Speedway. GT300 cars, most of them are FI GT3 spec cars, so the same as you see in the Blancpain Endurance Series, like these two on screen right now. There is that Porsche, and there's Hatsune Miku.
The 500, 500 category is very niche. You know, it's quite special in its own right. Very quick, lots of high aero, pro category. Every driver is there as a pro, getting paid by the manufacturers, and the 300 is pro-am category. Yeah, different power, a bit more weight. Yeah, just on a different level really in terms of power and performance. The 500 car is more like a DTM, more like a very impressive touring car, basically.
It's exactly what it is. It's a bigger, badder DTM car. Well, it's not any bigger, but it's just a badder, faster DTM car with power. Question coming in from, well, lots of people talking about the Hatsune Miku retirement, well, not retirement, but damage to the car. Dunhill Super Mark III says, why didn't they change all the tyres? There's only 3 laps to go, so it would have been pointless. Just whack on another tyre and send it. Just get it to the finish. I mean, get as many points as you can. Doing all 4 tyres would have taken longer.
What is the points for 500? Oh, so is it top 10 get points?
Top 10 get points. Okay. So they could have been in a shout. I think they still are in a shout with a top 10 finish. There is the Zenturumo.
It's Ishura, the Super Formula champion.
And, well, champion of Fuji for today anyway.
Yeah, 2 laps to go. I'm going to call it mega day for Lexus.
Yeah, it looks that way, doesn't it? I mean, you're going to get the lights of Hiroshi Yuichi and Yoji Nagai at the TRD factory in Yokohama. I think they will be having a few sparkling sakes.
Yeah, it's on the cards.
I think, because they're going to be back in, you know, it's not far to get back to the office either. They are going to have a little bit of a party, I think. Because
they're going to be out of this, straight to Tokyo.
yeah, pretty much.
2 laps to go, coming to the final lap now.
Both of these cars, the Zenturumo car you see, the new GT500 LC500, and the new GT3 car, developed in the wind tunnel, the former Dome wind tunnel in Maibara, Japan. New technical team, particularly in terms of aerodynamic department, TRD taking charge at the beginning, or partway through last year, and these cars are the result of that new team, and it seems to be working alarmingly well for other manufacturers. Toyota sticking to scale model testing, Honda doing most of their aero testing at full scale with the full complete car. And Nissan hasn't really disclosed, NISMO haven't disclosed much about their development philosophy, but I've heard rumours that it may be developed in one of the F1 wind tunnels.
The 500?
Yeah.
Oh, I can imagine.
But that's just a rumour.
Well, with Honda being in Formula 1 and 500 being the competitive champion it is, why not?
Well,
not to.
We're on the final lap here at Fuji Speedway. Last few corners. Hit subscribe and hit like. There's a lot more of this racing to come this year. We're not going to go straight off air though. Stay with us at the end of the race. Post-race interviews, usually worth watching to find out all the great insights of what the drivers might be saying, and the podium ceremonies to see if anyone gets wood.
This will be a nice feeling coming to the last corner. He knows that the job's done. He's going to have a nice smile, cheeky smile on his face.
There's going to be more than a little cheeky smile. This is going to be a cheeky smile and some pointy fingers. Not a record breaker, but a record equaler. At the wheel of that car, crosses the line to win the Fuji 500 kilometre race. And Lexus will make it 1, 2, and I'm going to say 3 when it crosses.
3 with Cassidy.
Cassidy indeed.
Cassidy,
there he is.
Mega job.
I don't think that was very good flag waving from the girl on the finish line there.
It just needs to be a bit more charismatic.
Yeah, she wasn't putting much extra effort into it. And there you go.
The Lexus 300.
I'm going to try and out RJ O'Connell on this one and say that is the first time Lexus has ever won both classes.
Yeah, if
it's
a true fact, that's an amazing day. It's a very proud day for them. It's a very good job, and I'm happy with my prediction.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm impressed by your prediction.
bro.
You called that one out right at the beginning of the race. Struan more here knows his GT3 cars. I personally think the balance of performance doesn't seem quite right in GT300s.
I mean, for a track as Fuji, you'd imagine that. I think the Nissan could have been a bit stronger.
I'm surprised the Prius and the mother chassis cars were basically nowhere all race. They're completely anonymous.
Yeah. Mercedes, I don't know. Yeah, Mercedes and Porsche. Porsche was surprised to see them up there. The BMWs being in the top 7 is...
And the Porsche is almost never anywhere, really. I mean, the two Porsches have not been front runners, so to see them suddenly come storming back, though perhaps it was the balance performance that was wrong in the first place. It's
there'll be some arguments.
Tell.
There'll be some disputes going on with that BOP.
Yeah, there really is going to be. I think there's going to be a lot of discussion about that before the next race. But there they are, race winners, all Lexus, clean sweep of the podium, and the first win in Super GT at least for the 2017 Lexus RCF. That car made its race debut at the Nürburgring last year, actually, and won that.
The Lexus did? Really? That's clearly a car that works well.
RJ O'Connell just confirming it is the first win for the Lexus RCF GT3. It's not RJ O'Connell, it won at the Nürburgring, I just said that. So I have RJ O'Connell's. RJ O'Connell is from Super GT World, website that covers Super GT, the world of Super GT, as you can probably guess from the name. I have a little bit of a running thing with RJ in that we're trying to out-fact each other all the way through every race, if you haven't noticed. So it'll be interesting to see what they've got to say in the interviews at the end of this race. Big pop from the exhaust there, so stay tuned for these podium ceremonies. Good time to maybe get some questions in, hit subscribe, hit your like button, say happy Star Wars Day, may the 4th be with you. Oh yeah.
Oh, you love it. How did you know that it was Star Wars Day?
It's in the calendar. It comes after
your personal calendar?
May the 3rd and before May the 5th.
Wow.
It's done that
Full
for
of
a while.
facts.
Yeah,
Full
exactly.
of facts, dude.
Yeah. Racing drivers. It's called counting.
This is nice. They come onto the grid rather than into the box,
Yes.
which is a bit like Monaco. It's just exactly like Monaco, really.
And they do this at every single race. So
Yeah,
they put the cars along in a herringbone alongside the side of the field. So that
It's cool.
And that's their part firme. So what it means is the fans can have a proper look. Oh, big burnout.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. The fans have a really good experience, it must be said, for the Super GT and Super Formula weekends. The fan days are pretty mad. I don't know if many people know out there, the fan days, they take fans out on buses, put the buses out onto the track, and the Super GT 500 cars and even the Super Formula cars at the same time.
Well, if you want to see what it's like to be on one of those buses and go out on the track, hit subscribe, press like, and then go and look elsewhere on this channel, because we did it.
Yeah, do it.
We took the bus out with the GT500 cars and the GT300 cars, and then I went out in the GT500 car to see what it's like from a GT500 car to look at the bus.
Mad.
It is
Mad scenes.
Absolutely bonkers, and it is brilliant. And it was also the strangest interview I've ever done with the head of NISMO Global, Mike Carcamo.
Why is that?
I found him on the bus.
Really?
He was on the bus just being a geek. He loves cars, so he just was geeking out, and it is an amazing way to see a race car. And I think we have the full onboard lap of Fuji Speedway from a bus that's uploaded. And here comes the Zensurimo car. Now, he had such a big celebration, he's now going the wrong way down the pit lane to pull up in Parc Fermé. So they have changed their finish sequence. Let's see if the drivers can actually find the podium then. Burnout's in the pit lane. That's going to get you a penalty, isn't it?
He's enjoying himself.
He is. Oh, he's going to get out of the car and put his finger in the air, I guarantee you.
He'll be wondering, what celebration do I do?
No, try not to blow up the engine. So, he's got the glove. Look at that. The cap's ready. Box fresh cap. That's what your co-driver does. He brings you a cap. See, now, if you've won 18 Super GT races, how do you hold up 18 fingers?
Get a mate to help.
You have to take your boots off, don't you?
Nice formal handshake there.
Oh, they're very good. Very well done, old
no
boy.
hugs, just formal handshake.
We haven't had a finger yet. Oh, we're going to get a finger.
No, they're cool, calm and collected, you know.
This is a record equaling victory, of course, for Atachikawa.
Yeah, he's used to it.
8 wins at Fuji Speedway. 18 wins overall in GT500. Equaling the overall record, which of course is held by NISMO Drive. So I think, you know, there's going to be some needle to sort something out about that at the next race. Here is, for the first time in Japanese racing, the Lexus RCF GT3, or in GT300, taking victory as well. And I believe for the first time in history, Lexus winning GT300 and 500 at the same time. Now, there may have been a Toyota branded car in winning GT300 and 500, but the Lexus brand has only been used
for
a little while. Previously it was Supras and stuff like that, and then there was only one Lexus in 300, which was the old IS350.
Yeah, incredible story. This car rolling out.
They're very
First
happy.
time this year, yeah, so they should be.
No fingers yet.
No, maybe it's a European thing.
No. The fingers are coming.
Yeah,
the fingers are definitely
podium.
coming.
They're definitely going to be coming out.
No, they're going to come. They're going to come in a minute. They're going to come before the interviews. We're going to get fingering before interviews. Definitely. I think we're going to see a finger. There's imminent finger action coming up. Oh, the drivers don't know where to go. They've gone to find some girls.
This is usually the confusion.
Yeah. Like when you're down there, because particularly as a European driver, now if you win a race or get on the podium, like, do they tell you where to go?
Yeah, someone will grab you eventually.
Eventually.
Well, you kind of presume it's behind you. Or door behind you, but sometimes it's tricky to find it.
God, they don't look very happy, do they? Yeah, so he's just been asked, why don't you look very happy? Oh, that's more like it.
いつもの立川選手じゃないようなですね、ここの車の持ってき方ですけど。
いやもう本当に嬉しいですね。久々の富士勝利で。
I keep winning here.
3年間悔しい思いしてきたんで。
I'm not as good at other tracks as I am here, but this one I'm really good at. But it's getting a bit dull now because I keep on winning. Do you think I'm going to get Wood on the podium?
今回本当に勝ててね、良かったし、まあFuji is
really easy for me. I'll just drive around it and everybody else needs to drive slower than me.
あと今週完璧にね、
I like Fuji. I look at the mountain every time, every lap.
感謝するし、あ
to help me.
とセカンドスティントで石浦がね、
In the second stint,
後ろ
my
と
co-driver
引
did
き
a
離
great
してくれ
job.
たんで、
Here he is.
最終スティントは本当に楽に
He did a
ゴー
fantastic
ルまで安全に持っていくだけで済んだんで、本当に後ろに楽させてもらいました。
おめでとうございました。
Thank you.
そしてスタート前にそのインタビューさせていただきましたが、10秒以上のですねギャップを稼いで戻ってきたのは石浦選手だけでした。
結果的にそうなってよかったですけど、でも本当に最初の立川さんのスティントが一番きついスティントだったと思うんですけど、そこをしのいでくれて、で僕の方はアウトラップ勝負だっていうのを思ってたんで、ウォームアップから、アウトラップで集中して練習したし、すごくいい走り出しができたんで、そこでいけるっていう手応えを掴んだし。
One of those up-and-coming drivers, still fairly young on the scene, and just come off the back of winning Super Formula Championship. So, yeah, big upcoming star in the Japanese racing industry.
チームと TRD の人たち、ブリヂストンのみんなに感謝してます。
Thank you.
実に3年8ヶ月ぶり、その時に勝ったのも立川選手でした。素晴らしいレースでした。おめでとうございました。ありがとうございます。以上です。
Thank you. They're happy. That was thumbs though, not fingers. This is a new strategy. I mean, this is why
thumbs,
Lexus
it's all about
is
the
winning.
thumbs. You can't do awkward thumbs up. Really, it's got to be a finger. If you win a race, you can't just do a thumbs up.
The wonky finger. Oh, enthusiastic girls here. Moderately
That's
excited.
Yuji Nakayama. He's a young Toyota driver, Japanese F3 champion, coming up through the ranks, Super Formula.
もうやっぱりこのホームコースで優勝できたってことすごく嬉しいですし、
Usually I beat Struan more.
正直開幕戦の
I'm not quite sure what happened. He wasn't here.
結構きつい
He's
か
gone
な
to
と思っ
England
たん
or
ですけど、
something. But this new Lexus is
岡山から富士にかけてのオートポリ
wasn't
の
as
テ
good
ス
at
トから
Okayama as it
もう
was
ブリ
at
ヂストンさん
Fuji,
がもう本当に
and it
いい
seemed
タイ
to
ヤ
work
を用意し
really
てくれ
well.
て、
So it's worked out
今
nicely for us.
もうお昼からスタートして夕方までずっとタイヤのパフォーマンスが最高だったんで、
The tyre cycle was
車
really
の
good,
パフォーマンス
particularly
も
after
本当に
Hatsune
富士
Miku
に
went
こうなっ
away.
ていて、 昨日予選ではちょっと4番手で悔しかったですけど、今日しっかり1位で帰ってこれて本当に嬉しいです。はい、チームの皆さん、TRU さん、ブリヂストンさんに本当に感謝しています。
素晴らしい走りでした。おめでとうございます。そして坪井翔選手、一昨年の F4 チャンピオン、そして今年 GT300 のルーキーなんですけれども、ここ富士でね、ご自身スティント結構伸ばして引っ張ってうまく見事につなぎましたね。
そうですね、僕はもうつなぐしかなかったので、もうプッシュし続けて、タイムも落ちなかったんで、もうひたすらもう引き離すことだけ考えて、1位で戻れたんで、
F4 winner, I think, Japanese F4 championship winner, up and coming, super young, up and coming talent. But the great thing about he's much younger than Nakayama, but these drivers in the Toyota development program or NDDP when it was on, and the Honda development program, they train with the Super Formula Super GT drivers. So they do the fitness tests with them, they do the training camps with them, they do the testing. So they'll go till they vomit in these training sessions because they're just not as fit as these Super Formula drivers.
Now you're talking about this driver fitness thing. Now there was something funny about driver fitness that you've told me, and you've grasped up certain race drivers, particularly those in international sports car racing. What is it they're doing with their legs?
Some drivers like shaved legs.
They like having their own legs shaved.
Yeah, no, it's a topic of discussion between drivers sometimes, especially the ones that cycle. And some of them have been cycling so long, shaving their legs for so long, that they've adopted this look of, actually, I prefer my legs being completely bald.
So there are drivers that you know active in GT racing,
smooth legs,
who have shave their legs to go motor racing.
Yeah. They upload photos like hot dogs or legs. I'm joking.
Why? What? It doesn't make much sense in cycling. Anyway, here's the result of the race. Sensorimo won by 4 seconds from Wacos. Keeper Toms in third. Motor Lawtech GT-R. Top non-Lexus car, the Nissan in fourth position. Fifth position, the Toms LC500. First, the Hondas in sixth. Raybricks NXX. Denso, Kabelco, Sard, LC500, Heike Kovalainen got to be disappointed with 7th, but still got some points on the board. Kahin NSX and Arta NSX in 8th and 9th, and the Wed Sport Advan LC500 rounds out the top 10 and the last of the points in GT500. In GT300, in GT500 still. The 11th position was Yes Road, Mola GT-R, Forum Engineering GT-R in 12th, Epson Modulo NSX GT. I didn't know the Modulo name had got into the Epson car, but it has. The Calsonic Impul GT-R, not a great race. We don't know what the problem for that car is yet, but we'll update you later on social media. Follow at NISMO, at Race Car Engineer, or more stuff on Super GT World. In GT300, first victory for the Lexus RCF GT3. We saw those guys looking quite happy just now. Gainer Tanak's got to be disappointed for second position. It looked like a win at one point. D-Station Porsche in third position. The shopping channel Lamborghini GT3 in fourth. The Leon AMG GT in fifth. Disappointing a little bit for the BMAX NDDP GT-R in sixth. The Teddy Bear BMW came in seventh. The other Lexus RCF GT3 in eighth. First of the non-FI GT3 spec cars in ninth position was the Up Garage Bando GT86. The Prius, number 12 Prius, got up to 12th position in the end, but in 11th position it was the Hatsune Miku AMG, just out of the points crucially, and that's really disappointing for them. It looked like they were going to have one of the top 2 steps of the podium sewn up, and that's a difficult GT3 race to get. Now we do have some real translations of what was going on the podium. They weren't sure today, but after this we think there are more wins to come later in the year. The budget for this programme is a lot more clear now, and we can compete with the other GT3 cars. That was the translation of the Lexus GT3.
Yep. No, it's nice. That's
the first time we've had
insight.
There's nothing wrong with my translation. Crispin Sugita said, the fun fact is Ishihiro was slated to drive the Toyota TS030 back in 2012. I remember that, actually. But he lost the drive due to an injury. I think that might have been a Diane Abbott doesn't want to vote injury.
That's interesting. Hirokawa and Cassidy, young driver pairing, are leading the ranking still. That's a mega job from those boys. Just behind Caldarelli, Ishura, the Kovalainen car, Quintarelli, Matsuda, Rossiter just by himself. Oh, why is that? 6 and 7.
Driver change, because one of the Lexus drivers is doing something in Spa this weekend in a Toyota TS050.
Okay.
So there was a driver. We didn't talk about that in the show. Actually, there was a driver change for that reason in that car.
Yeah. This is Nakayama. Very close, actually. 300 and 500 championships. 1 point between the top two.
It's interesting to see the 11 car, the Gainer car, is in the point ranking. They took that down very quickly as if they'd calculated that wrong, or they wanted to get on with the podium ceremony, which we all want to see. The podium is one of the highlights of Super GT. And lots of people are laughing. So the Prius apparently is still out there. It's not. And the chat's gone slightly surreal. You think this is surreal? You think that the commentary's gone a bit unusual?
Does it? I mean,
stay tuned.
We've been up since 5. It's unnatural.
It is unnatural. Any time before 10 AM is unnatural for me. It's middle of the night still for me. You know, I'm not due out of bed for half now. Here you go. There is the podium. They found it. But there's no man in an orange jacket. You can't have Mr. Orange Jacket missing from the podium. That's why we're delayed.
Is he there on the left?
Yeah, there he is. Yeah, good spot. That is Mr. Orange Jacket. He runs the whole show, you know. Him and Masaki Bando together.
Okay.
They run Japan actually, and the world.
Oh wow.
This isn't the last Super GT race this month. I think we've got another race.
Autopolis.
Yeah.
Autopolis is next. Yeah, we've got Katsumasa Chiyo, the Nissan driver, he's a busy boy right now. He's coming back to Silverstone. He's coming back to the UK. He was at where was he? We had Monza. Then they were testing.
Who's here?
Last week at Super GT. Then this week is at Fuji. And then next week he's at Silverstone. And the following week is at Autopolis. So yeah, flat out.
Which airline did they put him on?
I could have a look at the itinerary.
If
you really wanted to know.
If I'm going to Japan, this is a personal comment. There is no Brennan. I prefer JAL.
Yeah, JAL's great. Yeah.
British Airways is okay, but I actually prefer JAL.
Yeah, it's good.
I tend to go JAL via Helsinki as well. It's a bit cheaper that way.
Yeah, I think he does go to Frankfurt on his way over to the UK.
Yeah, because you can make the change there. But the food's much better on JAL, I have to say. There they are. There are the fans, all expectant and waiting to see Mr. Orange Jacket, some trophies, and perhaps some racing drivers. Now, they are going to get... It's not champagne they get on the podium, is it? It's some sort of sake concoction.
Sake. Yeah, it'll be... Yeah.
Oh, there's a Westerner. That's unusual. Mate, I wonder if that's our... Oh, I wonder if it's our guy. Nice view across the valley.
Nice day.
That's the timber down there in the valley. Panning up. If you like the Sylvanian families, that's the Sylvanian families theme park just beyond there on that little hill behind the main grandstand. Mount Fuji. Can't see it.
No, she's been hiding all day.
Yeah. And some people wandering around. This is a very organised thing, this session where the fans can walk around on the track. It's an organised track walk session. And they'll all vacate the track in about 45 minutes time. Walk. But they're picking up the marbles and taking them home. I don't know why you do that.
That's how fanatic they are, though, in Japan. You know, they just want to get every kind of experience out of the weekend, and they'll support every single driver on the grid.
Exactly. Oh, is that podium noise? I expect. Yeah, there it is. Dramatic music for podium. That's quite a fanfare. You need for people with oversized trumpets for that, don't you? Or a big man with an organ.
皆さん長らくお待たせいたしました。ただいまより2017オートバックススーパー GT ラウンド2富士 GT500 キロレース暫定表彰式を始めさせていただきます。
This is just introducing. This is the podium. He's explaining how the podium works. Some people walk out and they stand on the steps. Metal podium they've gone for here at Fuji Speedway, a lot more stable and sturdy than some of the wooden versions used at other circuits. First up onto the podium, it should be the GT300 drivers. Yes, here we go. It's the Project Mu LM Corsa. There they are. Simple one flag strategy. No complicated double flagging here.
No, I need one hand for the trophy.
Exactly. There was the finger. We did get the finger.
So how many are we getting? We've had one.
Oh, there we go. The Gainer The game. Oh no! Look! Big news! No more beard on Bjorn.
Oh wow!
Bjorn Verdheim has shaved off the beard. That's what slowed. That's why they didn't win.
Yeah, if you're a big beard fan, then sorry to say.
Yeah. Little loss of downforce of Bjorn Verdheim. That is disaster. That explains everything.
That's Sven Müller. So that's interesting. Sven Müller is a factory driver for Porsche back in Europe. He was Porsche Super Cup champion, and he's now racing in Super GT. So Porsche putting some attention on Super GT 300, which is interesting. Something they haven't done that much recently.
Well, that's a good place for him to be, and it's going quite well.
Yeah, for sure.
Here comes some girls. Or a girl with a trophy. That's a proper trophy again. Like, I get annoyed with motorsport trophies, these horrible bits of plastic.
I would prefer that to be bigger, to be honest.
That's true. Are they the same? Has one got smaller? Has one got a smaller one than the other?
No. But see, third place is going to be tiny.
Oh, chanting girls. There you go, chanting girls. We had them last race. Maybe it's a new feature of Super GT. We had Shouty Man John before, well now we get chanting girls.
See, that P3 is just tiny. He's worked all afternoon to get a tiny trophy.
Exactly. You can barely get a pint of beer in that. So what else are they going to get? So on typically in Super GT, you don't just get your trophy. It's not time for the champagne yet. There's a bit more to come. See, I like the sort of etched in Mount Fuji and the track layout. I think that's quite cool.
Oh yeah, that is cool.
Yeah, I like those trophies. They're
cool. They just need to be a bit bigger.
Oh, here's Mr. Orange Jacket.
Yeah, there he is.
He's got some hair colour in now. He's obviously been off in the what we said.
He's the fashionista of the paddock.
Oh, he's eating well.
No, that guy. That's not him.
It's the same guy. It's always the same guy. He just changes a bit.
Okay.
And there's his hair. Yep.
Okay, this is the team's trophy.
That is the team's trophy from Autobacks. And
normally there's an engineer or someone that the team appoint to go up on the podium. Is that the same in Super GT?
Not in Super GT. They just give the trophy to the drivers. I don't like that trophy though. I think that's a bit of a... Looks like you're supposed to hit a ball with it or something. It's like a cricket bat. Oh, it looks like the Gainer driver might have just spotted a trophy-related issue. So they've got an extra winner's trophy for the team. Is anybody else going to get any presents? Oh, here's a man with a... Oh, it's the scratch card.
Oh yeah,
the oversized scratch card. What are they going to win?
Podium without a scratch card.
Exactly. 500,000 yen. That will buy you like a beer for each mechanic on the way home, and that's it.
Yeah. In Super Formula, 500 the prize money would be big, as we pointed on before, but usually the drivers in Super Formula get to keep the prize money.
Well, they'll need to. You see the price of circuits?
Well, in Super Formula, in Super GT 300, I don't know how it works.
He's the best performer. It might be the best performer of all. It's 500,000 yen. It's a lot of money to a shopkeeper who sells overpriced beer.
Somewhere in Gotemba.
Somewhere in Gotemba. I know exactly where in Gotemba as well. 7-Eleven opposite the station. So Nakayama now and his teammate there, Tsuboi, has adopted the holstered flag approach. Put it in the waistband.
That's a big result for that young lad. Coming out of Japanese F3, I do think he's still in it this year. Honda...
He's got wood!
Yeah, oh yeah, here we go.
There you go, he's got his wood. They've got wood. It is a good result. I mean, he's come here and he's come out.
Well, yeah. I mean, Nakayama's he's strong. He's a strong driver to have. Interesting they put such a young driver pairing together, but straight out of Formula 3, still young. You know, it must all be kicking off for him inside. You know, it's quite. It's a good level of what's for progression in being a Toyota driver, you know.
And the first Japanese victory for that car's quite important.
Yeah, his name goes down in history.
It does, and he gets to go back to the factory with a bit of wood. Yeah. And a giant scratch card worth about £3,400 or $4,400 US. Is that how weak the pound is now? Amazing. I like those trophies actually. I always kind of prefer the third place one. I think that's I love that little etching. It's really nice.
No, I like it.
Yeah.
I just would be a bit disappointed about the size. of the trophy. It's just a bit. Yeah.
What, would you rather one like that?
Yeah.
Just a big lump of something sticking straight up.
Yeah.
So that is, there you go, nice profile photo for his Facebook account. I'm sure they'll do that, or they'll do the selfie, the mandatory podium selfie in a minute. We still haven't got the sparkling sake or whatever it is. Mr. Orange Jacket's ducking out away at the right moment.
Normally the girls bring out some sake.
They should do. I wonder if they pre-opened it, because sometimes they don't pre-open it, and then the drivers... We saw that in the last round.
Well, champagne on the podium is a struggle.
Did you see Cassidy at the last round, though? He had to ask his teammate to open the bottle because he failed on his own.
You do look at it, you think, okay, I've got my trophy now. I know the champagne's coming. I look down, I see it, and it's not undone. I'm thinking, Jesus. Everyone's there. Some people are really good at doing it. They're frantically doing it, and they got it off, and they're already spraying around, and you're there like, oh my God, I look like such a douche.
It's clear to us that Cassidy isn't good at opening a bottle, so he needs to have bottle opening, lessons. So, and he's owned up to this on Twitter as well. So if you follow at NISMO on Twitter, and a lot of these Super GT drivers, particularly European drivers, are on Twitter, and if you tweet at them and over something like this, they will respond. And Bjorn Verdheim definitely, without the beard, this is
strange.
That's why he doesn't look very happy. Yeah, that's why he looks a bit grumpy there, because he's just thinking, yeah, look, they just did.
I bet he's worked hard this afternoon. He had the pace to win that.
Exactly. Had he got the extra downforce from those whiskers, he'd have done it.
Yeah.
So yeah, the questions just come up as they're not open. The bottles aren't open. So while the drivers struggle to work out how to open a bottle of bubbly, they only get one bottle per car. Oh no, I was going to say that's a bit stingy. No, they do get.
Yeah. Oh look, they're doing it. This is not normally. It's frantic. You know. Oh, he's just chilled.
Yeah.
He's cool as cucumbers on the podium.
Are they all going to spray it? Or are they going to? Oh, Bjorn. Oh no, Verdheim failed. Oh, he popped his cork in the end.
Here we go.
So we just had some comments come in on the chat about drivers' pay in Super GT. Now you know a little bit about this.
So who gets
what? Are they paid? Do they pay? What's the deal?
Well, these two that have won the race are on salaries from Toyota. They are young Toyota drivers. Sven Muller is on a salary from Porsche in Europe. The other drivers, I don't know. Generally, throughout the grid, there is a pro in the car with an AM in 300. And
I think that's the situation here in the Gainer car. Yeah.
Exactly. So, well, even though the other guy was pretty handy though.
Yeah, he was.
But usually when you get an older gentleman in 300, there's a younger guy who he trusts to do the job of putting the car